Welcome, one and all to Miss Martin Muses, where today we're musing on writing. Why writing? Because I want to talk about writing and writing skills. And as always, talking about my new Xbox as well as anything that pops into our head. Maybe Slytherin against the world, because we do believe in Slytherin here at Miss Martin Muses. And of course, always some daytime drinking, which I never imbibe in, but I like to share because it's fun to do. So I'm going to share this screen. And I want us to talk a little bit about writing. Oh, because I want to become a digital marketer. Of course I do. 16 easy ways to improve your writing skills. Writing's been something I've kind of been having in mind lately. It's one of the skills that I actually do have. I'm more of a prose writer, but all of this applies. And welcome everyone that's popping in. Welcome to Miss Martin Muses. Or today we are musing about what I like to muse on. Midday musing. Welcome. It is Happy Dinosaur. Thank you for popping in. Always great to see you, Happy Dinosaur. Oh, you're Slytherin, huh? Welcome to my reptile club. Why, yes, I am Slytherin. I didn't used to be Slytherin. When I was younger, I used to be Hufflepuff. Hufflepuff. And then, well, life happened to me. And now I'm a cynical Slytherin. Though Slytherin always gets a bad rap, in my humble opinion, we Slytherins aren't bad. We're just misunderstood. We are misunderstood. So yes, all hail to Slytherin. That's one of the things I will hail. Oh, thank you. Thank you very much, Happy Dinosaur. Thank you for sharing out the stream for me. I do appreciate that. So while Happy Dinosaur is going off, I'm going to put up the banner because I like to show the link, because a good writer always cites her source. Why, yes, I do. Yes, I do, Precious. I'm also going to put the link to the article here in the chat. Whoop. That's not the article. That's StreamYard. So that would invite everybody on, and we would have anarchy and chaos. Not that I have anything against anarchy and chaos, just not today. Because let's just be honest, I think we've all had a little bit too much anarchy and chaos in our lives right now, haven't we? Yeah, but loads of stuff to talk about. Writing, the Xbox, Hamilton, Slytherin against the world, daytime drinking, and more. And of course, the and more is if there's something you want to talk about. Let me put this up live now. Midday musings. Slytherin against the world. Hello, it's Keck. It's Keck44. It is so good to see you. So good to see everybody. I know I've been kind of absent. I haven't been doing my daily live streams, but I wanted to get back into this. Oh, welcome, Keck, and welcome, Keely Chow. Great to see you. Always great to see you all. So we're going to talk a little bit about writing. Anyone in the chat a writer or a wannabe writer or someone that has to write? For example, you're minding your own business and you either have a teacher or a professor that makes you write. Or perhaps you have a job interview. And you've got to write, like, what is your philosophy of blah, 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 blah. That's what we're here for. And welcome to Miss Martin Muses. Welcome, Zevius, to Miss Martin Muses. How are you this fine day?
I'm good. I'm just saw the link that I pop in. I'm just working. I'm drawing a dragon. I'm drawing fire and smoke. You know, what I do for a living generally. So
nice.
I'm good. How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing well. Just have some midday musings. I've been thinking about writing a little bit lately. So I have up a little article about some writing skills and tips to improve your writing skills. But of course, you are not yourself a writer. Would you call yourself a writer or more of a creator?
I really don't enjoy writing. I have to do it sometimes, but it's not my thing. And the reason is, I get asked this a lot, actually. But I like to have my thoughts running full speed 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
So as a visual artist, I can do that. You know,
Yes.
when you're writing, you have to totally focus, and you can't run an internal dialogue. That's all.
Oh, yeah, interesting. Well, that's a very
Right.
interesting point of view. Yes, you are correct on that. Though I would say this, that when I do write, I mean, I write a million miles a minute. So, there is a way that you can get that stream of consciousness, but there is a different manner and different technique in which you convey your ideas and your thinking and your thoughts. And of course, there is a difference. Yeah. If you're dealing with fiction, if you're dealing with prose, or what it is that you're doing, whether you're writing a pamphlet, whether you're writing a job interview, whether you're doing something you're being forced to do because your professor is making you do it. It's all different kind of skills.
Yeah, it's true. Like, I mean, like, I've been working my butt off today,
Mhm.
and I'm working on trying to get diesel smoke to look right in the foreground of a picture.
Mhm.
Meanwhile, I'm thinking about life, and I'm listening intently to a podcast. So I can work and then bring in other things. Whereas I find, writing means you got to focus on the tone and the structure and the dialogue, and
Mhm.
so I need the multitask to be. I mean, I can do it when I have to, but I would never want to do it as a job.
As a job, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I must admit, it is pretty intense. I am not doing writing right now, but when I was at the height of doing a good deal of writing for the website that I had when I was doing the fan site, and we were doing a lot of academic articles.
Yep.
It's intense. It really takes a lot out of you, and you do have to sit and focus. And if you're not careful, it can consume you a little bit. Where,
Sure.
like, until you get it written out exactly the way you want it to, you just don't leave the keyboard. It's a very intense kind of method. I don't know if that's the right word, but one reason that I wanted to talk a little bit about this, though, it is the mechanics of it, because I think that sometimes people with writing and also with art, they have it in their heads that, oh, well, how do you write? Well, you just write. That there's not actually a craft to it. The same thing with art, where people, and we get this with music as well, where it's just, well, you just sit down and you play, or you just sit down and you draw.
Yeah.
And maybe perhaps not understanding that behind all of that, what you have is years and years and years of study and technique and critique.
Oh, for sure. Like, and that's part of it too. I work with writers every day. I've gotten on 2 new projects in the last week or so. But I work closely with Buddy Lord, and I always listen to Jay Ashiro Finney's show.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been on the show a couple times, the writer's room, with him and his wife Kat. And they'll get into story structure, and then they'll get into plot breakdowns. They'll get into all these different things. And I realize, like, I don't want to be in the middle of this conversation, because that is not my field.
Mm-hmm.
You guys have studied this stuff for 20 plus years. You're really good at it.
Mm-hmm.
I like to sit down, watch a movie. Is it good? Is it bad? I can discuss it, but it's a formal thing. Oh.
Hey. Yes, absolutely.
Ian.
I'm here's some. Ian, are you with us? Okay, this is Ian. Ian, all the way over from London. Yeah. How are you, Ian?
Can you hear me?
Oh, I can hear you now. Yes, I can.
Oh, good. Good. Oh, sorry, I just something wrong with my mic. Yeah, no, I'm doing fine. I'm doing really, really well. This is, I keep forgetting what subject you guys are talking about. Are you talking about the coronavirus or the bear bug, or writing?
What are we talking about today? It's writing. Right. It's not the Corona Diaries anymore. When my state opened up, it was at its end. Of course, we're always open to discussing it if that's part of it. But today we're talking a little bit about writing.
Oh, yeah. I know a lot about writing.
Yeah, I was about to say, speaking of which, we have a professional writer, and there's a lot of technique behind it that sometimes people think, well, I just can become a writer out of the blue. Now, there have been some rare situations in the past where you have just such raw genius where they are able to perhaps not go through all the rigors, say, that many people do. But even the great writers of the past, they had a great training in rhetoric and grammar, in reading. One of the great things about reading is that you also writing is that you also have to be a reader, and you also have to be an observer, and you also have to be a studier of the craft to get it right.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I believe totally that you wouldn't necessarily need to have, like an English lit education or something, but you've got to have read hundreds or thousands of good books to actually to make one yourself. There's no way you could ever get around that.
Well, I haven't. I'm not an avid reader, and ever since I was small, I always found it hard to read books. I forced myself to read novels. I think I've read about 5 novels in my entire life. Rest of them are all graphic novels and stuff like that. But I've never been one for literature. I've never studied, like what you guys said. I find, because I write screenplays, I find watching movies is the best way to learn how to write screenplays.
For sure.
So yeah.
Yeah, I was about to say, and since you bring in a different point of view, of course, it's movies and the craft of movies and the writing of screenplays.
Yeah. No, definitely. Yeah.
So for you as a writer, as a screenwriter, how many movies have you seen? What do you think?
Loads. I've seen loads of movies. The movies that really get me is movies that are well directed, and but you have to know what you have to know the context of what something's well directed, or how something's well directed, because a lot of people can watch something like Jaws and all the fantastic direction in that film will go way over their head. They'll just look at it and they wouldn't see it. So I think studying film for me makes me a better screenwriter. And also watching films as well, like, for instance, as far as I'm concerned, 2 solid screenplays which I've read and I love those films. One is The Sting with Robert Redford and Paul Newman. The other one is E.T. Both are polar parts, but both screenplays are tight. They're really, there's no fat to them. They do what they say, and they finish. They finish at a fantastic climax. So yeah, if you can understand what I'm saying, obviously.
Oh, I do. I mean, those are very disparate subjects. I mean, I find it interesting. Have you heard, you guys, that Back to the Future is often considered the best screenplay ever written, like ever?
But it has a few mistakes in it, though. Unfortunately, I mean, like, for instance, when Marty comes back from the future and his parents meet him, how comes they don't say, "You look like that boy that we met in the 50s"? They don't say that, do they? But that's one of those things that you just gloss over. And plus the fact that there's loads of. I remember going through the film with a friend who's really crazy about Back to the Future. Even he admits there's certain things that don't work in Back to the Future. But saying that, it doesn't matter because the film's magnificent. Do you know what I mean? So, sometimes some films get away with it. Like as I said with Jaws, when the way they kill the shark, you can't kill the shark that way. If you fire a bullet into into one of those tanks, it won't explode. It will never explode. But Spielberg's like, let's just have it explode and kill the shark, and that's what they did. So there are certain rules you can break. Sorry, mate. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, it's fine. It's a movie. It's okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But if a movie is well made and the story craft is there, you can. Those are liberties, as you said, that you can take. I'm just curious about Back to the Future. I have only a cursory understanding of some of the way that these screenplays work and are put together. What is it in particular, Zevius, that people say Back to the Future is such a perfect screenplay?
That's a good question, because I'm not sure exactly. I'm not sure why it gets. For 20 years, it's been or more. It's been called that, and it has a perfect arc. It has all of the character development. It does all those sort of boring things. And it also breaks a couple of fundamental rules, which made it interesting. And
Mhm.
again, I'm not the writer, so I'm not going to tell you what they are formally. But it just it goes a little bit off the rules just enough to be really interesting. So yeah, that's, what is it, Zemeckis, I think?
Yeah, Robert Zemeckis.
Yeah.
Zemeckis. A lot of people say Tootsie's one of the best screenplays ever written. You know the film Tootsie with Dustin Hoffman?
Of course.
Yeah. A lot of people say that is probably one of the best screenplays ever written. I think it's okay. You know, I read a few screenplays before I started this journey in writing screenplays, and you know, Tootsie's again, it's a real, you know, solid piece of writing. I mean, a lot of people don't realize that Tootsie is about sexism if you look at it closely, because Michael Dorsey, he's very sexist. If you look at that film very carefully, and it's about him learning about how to be better with women. That's basically what the film is all about. So if you look at it closely, even though it's funny and Dustin Hoffman makes that ugly woman and he's really good at it, and you know, it's all about sexism, because he's really horrible to Terry Garr's character in the beginning. Yeah, at the party he's going, no, it's me, because when they break up, no, it's me, no, it's you, no, it's me, kind of thing. And then he finds himself in the reverse situation when he's a woman. You know, being picked on by the old guy that fancied him as Dorothy, whatever her name is, and then him falling in love with the leading lady. You know, he sees it from their point of view. So that's basically what Tootsie's all about. A lot of people forget about that, actually.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I do know that things like Tootsie and, well, for example, Back to the Future, what made it so much fun was the use that they made of, if you will, foreshadowing. Like from the very beginning, you start off with just that scene of the wacky thing that the doc has, all the different cogs in the machine. So you know that, you're dealing with, if you will, a mad scientist. And then you see this Marty just doing his thing and being knocked down. So, you know, okay, this is a rocker and he's a bit silly. And then he's late for school, so you know he's a bit irresponsible. Then you see his girlfriend, and all of these things that it just introduced in just the first few minutes. And then when he goes home, and all the dialogue with the parents, what they're saying, oh, remember when this happened? And you've got the mother drinking, and they're talking about jailbird Joey, all of those things. How it's just setting up everything. So that that my Roddenberry knowledge of movie screenwriting, you can just see how well done that was. And then that's what made it so friggin' funny when he goes back to the past.
Yep.
They set it up. That's the thing is, though, when you're a screenwriter, you have to try and be one step ahead of the audience all the time when you're writing. So with Robert Zemeckis and Gail, I can't remember the other guy's name. They when they were writing the screenplay, they were just, you know, trying to be good screenplays are always ahead of the audience, you know, and they're always trying to set something up subtly so you don't see it coming. So, you know, especially when it comes to adventure scripts and action scripts. I mean, you know, Raiders of the Lost Ark script isn't that good, to tell you the truth. I mean, but it's a fantastic, great movie. You know, it's very simple in its concept. Raiders of the Lost Ark, definitely. And Back to the Future is just one setup after the next, isn't it? Because they mentioned Jailbird Joey when they're eating in the beginning in 1980, whatever it is, and then when he goes
85.
back, when he goes back, he sees Joey in the playpen, doesn't he?
Better get used to these bars, kid.
Yeah. It's so funny, right? So, you know, it's just being one step ahead of the audience. And I tell you what, right? When you're writing a screenplay, there are rules that you can abide by. Like, for instance, they say that every page has to make you want to turn the next page. It's kind of impossible, but you know, if you have something happening on each page, then the person will want to turn the next page to see what's happening. Also, the main character has to have pressure on them all the time, all the way through the screenplay. The main character, the main protagonist, So you have to create pressure on that person so that you can care about that person, so that person could grow and move forward in the screenplay. You know, there's all these like rules and stuff. So anyway, I can't teach you what I've learned for the last, what is it, 25 years in a space of 5 minutes.
Well, no, I think that's fascinating. And one could argue that movies that completely suck, you instinctively know that they suck. And just from what you just told me, I'm thinking of some movies that I just hated that were just terrible. And it doesn't have those. You don't care what comes next. You don't feel the tension between the protagonists.
I can tell you the reason why you don't feel that, right? And it's very simple. I'll try and explain to you as simple as possible. Okay, so the reason why you enjoy films like Jaws, Star Wars, I don't know, Close Encounters, or The Sting. I love The Sting. You know, what is it? American Beauty. It's because basically, right, first and foremost, the writer that writes that screenplay, he basically, his passion for the screenplay comes off the page and onto the screen, if you know what I mean. Okay, right. So with the person that wrote, say, like for instance, George Lucas wrote Star Wars, okay, and he was very passionate. He almost lost his whole house because he made Star Wars, and you know, he had a lot of stress and stuff like that. But he believed in it. The passion in the writing, it comes from the person first, and then when they write it, the passion comes from on the screenplay, and then the screenplay goes to the screen, and then it comes off the screen. So the reason why you don't like films like Resident Evil when it's directed A to B styles, because the people that are involved, they just don't care about it. All they're doing the film for is a buck, basically. So everything's flat and nothing. There's no imagination in it. They just give you what's on the page, and then they're on to their next job. But people like Cameron and Spielberg, and you know, especially very talented writers. You know, the guy who wrote I can't remember his name. He's very famous. You know, he wrote that film with Jim Carrey. It was a romance. What was it called?
Jim Carrey romance?
Yeah, Spotless Mind. Something of the Spotless Mind.
Oh, can't say I've seen it. But...
it's very famous. Jim Carrey was in it.
It's so famous we forgot about it.
No, well, I can't remember the title. Yeah, but it is. If you look it up, Jim Carrey was in this romance film, and it was weird because basically he falls in love with this girl, and they break up, and he goes to this place where he wants the memory of her erased off his head. And so they do that for him. But as he's asleep, he sees everything that connects with his girlfriend, and he changes his mind. So he's trying to fight in his mind to keep all those memories. The Eternal Something of the Spotless Mind.
Yeah, Will has it right here.
There it is.
Sunshine
of the Spotless Mind. Do you remember that film, guys?
The Brits are delivering.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a great movie. And it's written with passion, and it's performed with passion because Jim Carrey's excellent in that film. I think it's got Kate Winslet in it as well. So
oh yeah, I love Kate Winslet.
It's all about passion at the end of the day. That's what it is. If you watch the Transformers, you get nothing out of it. You sit there, you just like bangs and booms and stuff, and then when you leave the cinema, you're not thinking about it because it's just like eating a McDonald's. You know, you're not eating a steak in a 3-course meal. When you eat a steak and 3-course meal, you're like, when you come out, you're still tasting the food. When you go to McDonald's, you eat the burger and you end up on the toilet because it's
Well, and of course, there's always moments for that because I know that sometimes the most fun I've had with the family is we just watch a really dumb guy. We call them guy movies sometimes, you know, just where things just blow up and everything, and it's loads of fun. Speaking of which, about what makes writing good and memorable, I mean, I can tell you off the top of my head about 5 movies that literally changed my life. I mean, it's not just like, oh, that was whatever. It's like, it changed my life. Wow. And that is also the mark of a great movie, that it is so profound. It touches the heart so profoundly.
Now I want to know.
Oh, well, okay. I mean, I could say, okay, the movies that changed my life, Star Wars. I was 3. It changed my life because for several reasons, but the music.
Mm.
I'd always had a love for orchestral music, but the music that I listened to as a child that made me just want to be in orchestra, play in an orchestra, was Star Wars and Beethoven. I mean, that's just, it was just, and if you think about the scope of what John Williams did with his music, and understand, if you're a 3-year-old, that's the first time I saw it, and that's the diet you're getting of that great music. And of course, look at me now. I went and I majored in symphonic instrument performance. I played in orchestra. Wow. I'm just saying that now, would I have done all of that whether or not I saw Star Wars? Probably, because it is who I am. But on the other hand, that really, really influenced, and even today, when I think of music that just makes me passionate and want to cry, it's that the original Star Wars theme, the original the Princess Leia theme, the Force theme, and especially when you listen to the original Star Wars theme in the version that they have in the soundtrack and then the credits, where it's played and then it goes into Princess Leia's theme with that beautiful flute and also use of the oboe, and then it suddenly starts heating up like and then it changes key with the brass going and that changes things. That really does change you.
What about you? Sorry, what about you, Stevens? Did the film change your life?
Yeah, I think so, and it would be also Star Wars.
Wow.
So I recall seeing a couple of movies before it in the theater, like Benji or the
Benji. I remember that.
Or the Bad News Bears, or
I remember that too.
Stuff like that. And I was like, I had a good time. I still remember it. And then I saw Star Wars, and for the rest of my life, I didn't really care about anything much else.
Wow.
And that's what got me interested in music. That's what got me drawing. And I would, collect Star Wars toys. I would draw Star Wars things. I got the first editions of the very first comic book, oversized, of Star Wars from 1977.
I remember that too.
And I still have them right here in the room with me.
Wow.
So I've had these things forever. And it's come and gone. And I think I left, I went basically into advertising. I went into music. I did other things with my life. And then about, 5-6 years ago, I moved to San Diego and realized that comic books and Star Wars were still what I care the most about. And that's why I've got back in the comic book business in the last maybe 1 year, if that.
But, wow, George Lucas got lots to answer for, isn't he?
Yeah, for sure, man. It's like people who look at my, I've been doing a lot of coloring on books in the last few months. And every time I'm on a show or I get comments, people are like, wow, dude, your colors are out to lunch. And I always just tell people that it's from, I've seen Empire Strikes Back probably 500 times on VHS or Blu-ray or DVD. I had the poster on my wall for years. And it's the pure magenta. In Princess Leia, there's the cyan all through through the background, of Hoth. And then when you watch the movie, or Blade Runner or Alien or all of these movies from we have from the 70s and 80s, the saturation of the colors is totally affected my entire. It's what I do for a living.
Wow.
I mean, can I share my screen, Teresa? I want to show you guys what I'm up to right now.
Yeah, go ahead. I was about ready to say, show us some examples.
Well, here, I'll just let me get over to that. Bless you. Don't let me interrupt, but so what I'm doing right now, I got a new page from our artist, Hosan Art, and I'm almost finished coloring it. And I can explain what I'm doing right now, and I can also show you why this is pretty much, it's George Lucas. It's, who is the cinematographer on A New Hope? Do you guys know?
New Hope? No. I can't remember. I can look it up though.
Yeah.
Certainly Ridley Scott as well.
Oh yeah.
the way he uses color.
Mhm.
I rewatched Blade Runner a couple times last week.
Yeah.
It's funny. I rewatched. Somebody sent me a code somewhere, a little bird. So I just watched episode 9, Rise of Skywalker. Oh, anyway, I just want to talk about it, but it sure is pretty. The colors are amazing.
Mhm.
There we go. Hang on. Let's see here.
Yeah, just for fun, I'm putting this up there. Yeah, so you can see. Yeah, look, that's from the Empire Strikes Back. All the colors that pop out, and of course, I never thought about colors until I talked with Xevious. I always knew there was color there, I guess, but the craft of it, and just because it's just not my territory, I never.
Oh, look, the colors basically dictate the tone and the emotion of the scene.
Yeah, see,
So,
at the bottom of the screen, you've got a pure, like an electric cyan blue, and the pure. So not the posters, but the stills. So yeah, right there.
Yeah.
Center bottom, you've got
that one there with Vader and Luke.
Yep, you've got hot pink. It's pure magenta. You've got pure cyan coming out of the background with pure purple and pure orange. And I look at a lot of the comic book art that's going on these days, and I don't see a lot of color, and I don't understand why. It doesn't make sense to me. I'm going to show you what I'm working on. You know, when
it's Gilbert Taylor that did the cinematography on Star Wars. I've never heard of him actually, Gilbert Taylor.
Okay, here we go.
Ooh, that's lovely.
Nice. That's a new one. Yeah, look at that. The smoke or whatever there.
Yep. I received this line art last night.
Yeah.
And I've been coloring pretty much since I got it. And
lovely.
Thank you. You know, I'm right now, I just finished coloring the eye actually, and I'm playing with it. So what I've got here is sort of adjusting between the sort of red hued eye.
Yeah. Green in there too. One. Yeah.
And I keep these things on layers, so I can always come back to it. I mean, you know, as a painter, I found I didn't like oil because acrylic lets you go away for 20 minutes, take a smoke break, come back and change it if you want to. On the computer, I can just basically undo and redo.
Yeah, no, definitely.
And I'm tending towards the green because I've got the reds and yellow in the background. So the green is either going to bring the.
Oh, I don't know. I think the red pops it for some reason. I think the red really works with everything that's around it. But that's just my opinion. You should do what you think is best.
Oh, of course. And again, you know, I'll play with it, and I'll churn this page in, you know, sometime tonight. I'll put it up on Twitter.
Yeah.
But I would say that watching Blade Runner, watching Empire Strikes Back, watching a lot of those movies that we have from the 70s and 80s, and even some since then, that's where my color palette comes from. And I try to make every comic page look like a movie poster, frankly, or a frame from a film.
It's really funny you should say that because the film that changed my life, to tell you the truth, wasn't Star Wars. Star Wars came out in July, I think, of the same year. Close Encounters came out in September, and I saw Close Encounters, and it was that film that wanted me to become a director. Because when I saw Star Wars, I was like, I want to do visual effects, I want to build models, you know, I want to blow up things and stuff. But then when I saw Close Encounters, it changed my mind completely to pursue a directing career. So, you know,
interesting.
Yeah.
You're right. Well, you know, that movie, that ending scene when the spaceship comes down.
Yeah. I mean, also that's another prime example of color. I mean, the mothership had tons of color, had blues, had greens, it has yellows, and I think mostly blue when it was landing. And then you play with smoke and white light when the aliens come out, so you can't see them too well. You just see the shadows, making them more mysterious and stuff. So the cinematographer, you know, he had a real hard job lighting that movie, put it that way.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, well, it's mostly the same guys, and I don't have the names off the top of my head. If I heard them, I would know it. The effects people on, you know, John Dykstra, Douglas Turnbull, I think.
Douglas Trumbull, yeah. Douglas Trumbull was, yeah.
And those guys, a lot of them got started on 2001: Space Odyssey in like.
Yeah.
what, 1969?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And then 7 years later they're doing Star Wars, and then a year later they're doing that. And then to me, the ultimate, again, same bunch of dudes in I think San Francisco mostly did Blade Runner, which to me is, the best looking movie.
I mean that film was. I didn't really like that film when I first saw it, but as I got older, I appreciated it as a film noir. Because when you're a kid, you don't realize what you're watching. Because when I saw Blade Runner, I was bored as anyone. I was just sitting there going, "This is so dull." But as I said, when you get older, you appreciate it, don't you? So, yeah.
So it's funny, hey, how we wind up in life. I mean, in fact, it's funny. I'm looking at the thing on my screen right now.
Yeah.
And there's a whole lot of. I mean, I designed this character. Joe drew this one for us. I mean, this is halfway to being Deckard from Blade Runner. It just is.
Yeah. He's wearing the coat.
It's kind of the coat. Yep.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's not conscious, but it's. I mean, color-wise, this is not dissimilar to the Blade Runner poster. It's super saturated.
Well, I don't really want to push something that I've done, but I'm going to do a live stream on Friday. My business partner died recently. He died of a brain tumor, and I wanted, because the very first movie we ever directed was a film called The Killing Zone, and he produced it. So we're going to honor him by just having a live stream and talking about it. If you ever get to watch The Killing Zone, there's 3 stories in it, and each story has a palette color. Cool. And it's got a lot of color in that film, and I'm not exaggerating either. So if you ever get a chance to watch it, it's on the Rebecca Gold channel. It's free to watch. Yeah, and it's like 93 minutes if you can stand it. But there's 3 stories in there, and you'll see that each story has a different color palette, and that's not down to me. That's down to my DOP. So
nice. I'll check it out.
Yeah. I saw that you did talk about that. I'm going to get the link to put in the chat. That the Killing Zone, that was your first movie, correct?
Yes.
That you did.
Yeah, it definitely was. It was made by people, inexperienced people. Were outside the industry, obviously, and so we basically we collected £14,000 and we shot it on film, which you believe, because in those days there was no digital, no Facebook, no whatever, and we completed it in 2 weeks. But and we came out with a decent film in the end, and we won an award for it. So that's the thing. I mean, once, as they say in Back to the Future, if you put your mind to it, you can accomplish anything.
Yeah. Nice.
So, but I mean, going back to your art, I always say that your art's amazing. It basically kicks out film. Do you know what I mean? It's like something cinematic about what you draw, which is cool. So
speaking of different ways to tell a story, different ways to write a story, and to convey it on there. And if I'm correct, though, correct me if I'm wrong, Ian, that even though you guys were not, it was not a lot of you that were mainstream movie makers, but you all were in the movie industry. It wasn't like you just pulled off the street. None of us were in the industry. Even now, I could say I'm not in the film industry. I've directed movies, and I've been independent. It was only 3 people, actually 4 people, that knew what they were doing on The Killing Zone. The rest were various experience. So, and we had kids from school, secondary school, that was helping us out, and nobody was getting paid because they wanted to learn. We had people that were unemployed. We had a 50-year-old that was willing to run and help and stuff. In those days, to get into film was really difficult. It was like 1,000 to 1 or billion to 1. Now it's like it's like a million to 1 now in the UK. But in those days, in 1998, when we made that film, it's incredibly hard, and there was snobbery and all kinds of nonsense. I spoke to you about it before, but we achieved it, and we were very proud of what we did. So, but anyway, I don't want to talk about The Killing Zone. No problem. Well, no, but I thought that but you have worked, like you've worked on sets and other things like that. Yeah, that's what I was about to say. It's not like you just you guys, when I say in the industry, I mean that you were working in that field. It wasn't
Well,
it wasn't
when I-
that you all were working. You're all a bunch of scientists working in a lab that said, "Hey, let's make a movie." No,
But
that
when-
you've been on sets, you've done editing,
yeah,
you've
but
done work.
okay. When I did the Killing Zone, my experience was minimum. Yeah, I knew what I was doing, but to make a short and then make a feature film, they're two different animals. So I learned a lot making the Killing Zone. I learned patience. I learned what not to do. You know what I mean? And it was incredibly stressful. I mean, for instance, on a typical day shoot, you come in at, say, it depends on what the shoot is. You come in at 9 o'clock in the morning, you get makeup, and then you're on set for 10 rehearsals, and then you're shooting at 11, and then you go home at 7. But with the Killing Zone, we'll come in at 10 in the morning and go home at 4 in the morning, and then do it all over again. Because a lot of the cast and crew, right, we're inexperienced, therefore we're moving too slow. But we couldn't afford not to finish it because we put our own money into it. So when we were going to 4 o'clock in the morning, everybody was tired and stuff, we were still pushing it. So that's that. There's a huge difference between shooting it, the way the professionals shoot it and the way we shot it. We just didn't want to give up, on it. So, it was really hard, but anyway, it doesn't matter how hard and how many people worked on it. The end result is what counts. That's why when I saw that thing about the last Star Wars film and they were going, how many people worked on it? They were beautiful people and whatever. It still turned out shit, right?
Yeah.
So that doesn't matter. What matters is the end result. So
exactly.
Yep.
Same thing with I remember the last season of Game of Thrones, where I think it was Sophie Turner was like, "You're really disrespecting all the hard work everyone did on this movie." And it's like, no, we're not disrespecting the hard work. We're sure they did a great job, but that doesn't mean that it was any good.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Have you guys seen the Disney Plus behind the scenes for The Mandalorian episode 1?
Yeah, I've seen it. I mean, they weren't even on set. They had a virtual set, didn't they? That huge back projection thing, and it looked like they were there. Amazing. Did not know they did that. I thought they were actually there. I thought they were on location, but they weren't.
No, I'd heard about that last year. So they're calling it, I guess, stagecraft. And gigantic LCD screens.
Yeah, amazing.
Use motion trackers the way, if you've done VR, so the way the way it tracks your head in 3D space, when you look around in a virtual space, they've got that on the real cameras. So the cameras can, tilt and pan and dolly at their own, LCD screens, which are, in the back of the room. They have the ceiling done and it reacts to it. And then anything reflective on the stage will actually pick up the reflections from that.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, but I thought I'm looking forward to, well, again, we get a new one next week for Mandalorian. But the first two were basically, in my mind, patting themselves on the back about how awesome Star Wars is and how awesome their team is. And I really, I recommend it. It's not, it's worth 25 minutes to watch, but it's, I'd love to see them go way more into the technology behind it, way more into the logistics.
It's difficult because those kind of things are very difficult to explain. Like, I understand it because I saw, we see behind the scenes stuff, but to explain how that actually works. You know what, right? They say the best special effect ever done on film, and you'll be surprised what was voted the best special effect is the Walker's fight in Empire Strikes Back. Now, I can understand why they vote that the best special effects ever, because the amount of effort it took to do that scene, moving one frame with the ATT's legs, that is ridiculous. How they did that and not go mad, I have no idea. Really, incredible, absolutely incredible. I don't know if you guys know about that, but yeah.
Oh no, that was Phil Tippett. He was here just a
couple
months.
Yeah, Phil Tippett's freaking awesome.
Tippett did that, and that's just from he spent countless. He learned how to do it studying Disney and how to do frame by frame animation. So they would basically go over, they're 24 frames per second, and they'd go over basically and click the camera, and then move the leg, the hip, the whatever on that armature. And then, take all the time, make sure they don't touch anything else.
Yeah, because of the snow.
Yeah, they come up from below.
Yeah.
And I think for that shot they used salt actually for snow. I'm not sure.
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then go back and do it again.
But you know that shot where the snow speeder, it's from the point of view of the snow speeder, and it flies under the ATT, and then it comes out. They had to literally do that for, I think, frame by frame. I'm not sure how they did that, but they must have split that model so that the camera can go underneath. And you know what I mean? That's just absolutely crazy when you think about the amount of work that went into that. It's absolutely crazy. Yeah.
And it looked realistic as F, didn't it?
It did. Yeah, it did.
You know what's funny? I've seen the actual model, you know, the original, the only of that the snow speeder, and it looks terrible in person.
Yeah,
it's maybe only but it's about probably 12 inches, and like the insignia, there's a little red, I guess it's Arabish, the little markings on it, and like it looks like it was done as an absolute afterthought, but it's 3 strokes of a paintbrush. It's like doop doop doop. Okay, yeah, we're good. But it's, you know, at that frame speed and with the blur, the way it's all put together is it works beautifully. It's really amazing.
Also, what's quite funny is that, you know, the bit where Luke and they're all the soldiers are getting ready because they hear that the walkers are coming. So there's that scene in it where Luke and his friend gets into a snow speeder and he says, "I can take on the whole empire myself," and he goes, "I know what you mean." And then the thing closes and then the snow speeder starts rising in the air. They literally had a forklift truck to do that. I remember seeing it behind the scenes. The forklift truck was lifting them up in the air and they go, "Cut." I was like, "What?"
Oh yeah,
but, you know, it just goes to show, don't it? Cool.
And I think it's Empire in the hangar. It could be A New Hope, but it's probably both. The ships in the background are cardboard cutouts. Yeah. And if you look close, if you know that and you watch for it, it's totally obvious.
Yeah. It's. So, but I mean, in those days, you know, are we going off the subject slightly? I don't know.
No. This is all about writing. Writing in all of its different forms. Yeah.
Yeah, but as I said, you know, in those days, right, the craft was really the craft. Like, for instance, your art's amazing, right? And with the help of technology, you can move faster. But remember when Ralph McQuarrie was doing concept art for Star Wars, he literally had a brush and paints, and he was painting on canvas, you know, and that's really, today, for me, that's really difficult to achieve what he achieved, you know.
It's interesting. Like, I've got pretty much all of the original, you know, the big prints of Ralph McQuarrie, you know, like 1117s for the most part, for Star Wars, for Empire, for Jedi. And yeah, he's using gouache on board. And he did there's a couple of people painting like the mats in the background. It's like when you see, say, behind, you know, Obi-Wan in that huge tunnel. Disabling the tractor beam. Or you know, Luke falling down the air, you know, after fighting with Vader. Those are oil paints on glass. Gigantic glass.
Wow.
But I have to say, though, that, I mean, right now, since I've been talking to you guys, I've been sort of fussing with the teeth on this dragon. And I'd be just as well off with a piece of glass and a paintbrush, to be quite honest. You know?
Yeah. But you can take like, for instance, if we're talking about art, you know, I admire someone like Ralph McQuarrie. You know, I admire the artists that used to work, you know, like Jack Kirby, and you know, and stuff. He used to work for comics because they are old school. And you know, today, right? You know, the youth, as I would say, they don't understand how difficult it was in those days to literally draw, and you really had to know your craft, you know. It's the same thing with me. I will never ever know what it's like to write screenplay on a typewriter, because in the old days they used to write on a typewriter, right? Could you imagine writing a screenplay on a typewriter? And they didn't have any whiteouts in those days either. So when you made a mistake, what do you do?
True.
I don't know how I would have gotten through college, because my writing was historical prose and apologetics. And I mean, you would turn in papers that were 40, 50 pages. I have no idea how I could have done it on a typewriter, because like footnotes and things, and how often you might go back and you're like, oh man, I've got to do this with the footnotes. I got to go do this. And you can just go back. But my mother was telling me when she was in college, that meant you had to redo the entire page.
Yeah. That's what my dad used to say. Yeah.
Okay, so I've got a different take on that, because at the moment, like I do a lot of my work on iPad with a brush, basically. It's digital, and of course I can undo things.
Yeah.
And at the moment, I'm over on one of my workstations, with a mouse and a computer. And what I'm doing right now basically is futzing around with what to do with these teeth. So, to be quite honest, and plus I'm having a good time talking to we're on a show here. But if I was on a canvas right now, I would just be being deliberate about it.
Yeah,
and
you just have one choice.
Yeah, and so as a musician, when you're playing live, you don't make mistakes because you can't. I mean, you could, I suppose, but you just don't make mistakes.
But this is not to take away from people like the people that use the new technology to achieve the same goals. I'm not saying that what people do today is worse than what people done in the old days. What I'm saying is that in the old days, right, they were those people were far more they were tolerant of their talent. They were trained in a different way. As I said, if it wasn't for computers, if it wasn't for script programs, I'd never be able to write a screenplay ever.
Sure.
If it was left to me in the typewriter, I'd be screwed. But I'm not saying that computers, you should learn the old way. No, I'm saying that we should embrace everything that's new coming towards us, whether it be Photoshop or whatever. But I'm just pointing out that in the old days, it was far more difficult for those people to achieve what we can easily achieve today,
Yeah. Well, and that they did have to be more deliberate. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Like what Zevius said. Oh gosh, and I'll tell you, Zevius, what you just said, that you just gave me flashbacks to when I would perform with symphonies of when I did Beethoven's Seventh. I still remember playing Beethoven's Seventh because the bass part for that is incredibly difficult and one of the best parts for a bass, especially the second movement. And you're right. You never made a mistake.
Yeah, you just don't.
I don't know. I'm thinking, how the hell did I do that? It was like, because making a mistake wasn't an option.
That's right.
I think it's
performance.
One
missed note would have messed up the entire piece. So you just practice the living crap out of it.
Yeah. It's a way of thinking, I think. That's what it is.
No, it's true. Like what I'm doing right now, I'd be very comfortable doing this as a commission on a canvas. It'd be fun. I would sit back. I'd be a lot slower with what I do, I suppose. But in the end, it would be the same vision, But yeah, the computer, I mean, it's a nice tool. Like you think about it, like when I started recording, I remember being like about 15, 16 years old. And the first time, I was very lucky, but I was in a recording studio putting out my first single. And, we're paying, I don't know, probably, I want to say a couple $100 an hour. It's a big recording studio, big multi-track space. And, we did it and we laid down, one track at a time. We got it mixed. Then we were done and we left. Nowadays, you can use GarageBand, and I think we had an 8-track or maybe a 12-track studio we were renting. Now I have unlimited tracks on my iPhone, all my iPads, and so do all of you. So does everybody listening. It doesn't make music any better or easier to make. It's a nice tool.
Yeah, you're right.
It doesn't change things really.
If you could have all the technology in the world, but if you don't have the talent to support the technology and the stuff that you're using, then it's pointless. I was about to say to you, Teresa, you must have heard The Planets, right?
Oh, yeah.
Don't you think John Williams was influenced by that when you listen to Star Wars?
Yes, that's what I was thinking. I was thinking of a generous way of saying he quoted from The Planets.
Yeah, he did.
Quoted being a generous way of saying it, but yes. If you listen to The Planets, there are certain tracks in there that sounds like something from Star Wars, so you can see where he got his influence from. But saying that, John Williams and his music, there are other stuff that he's created, and it's nothing like anything you've heard before. Like I don't know if you guys remember. I don't know, Tracy, you're probably too young, and
DVs, you're probably too young as well. There was a show called Land of the Giants, which was in the 60s, and John Williams created the theme for that. And even then, the themes that he created, A Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea, Land of the Giants, you know, all the TV shows, they were all fantastic. They were all really well composed, amazing tracks, amazing themes for TV shows, you know, and that's how he learned, I guess, by doing, you know. And I think whether it be art, music, writing, you learn by doing, you know, you just keep doing it until you get to the point where it gets easy for you, you know, and then you're in trouble.
And not to forget, though, that John Williams was a classically trained musician and a master conductor, especially, and he had a very strong background in jazz, and he was conducting, was it long before he got any of these jobs doing film music? It was it the New York Philharmonic that he was like one of the guest conductors or the subconductors under Leonard Bernstein. So he was a master conductor.
Yeah, he was. And same thing with
and with a background in classical music before he even got into film. Yeah. But, and there's another composer that I admire a great deal. Well, and one that I've actually had the pleasure of interviewing on several occasions. It is Mark Isham. He's an Academy Award nominated. He did A River Runs Through It, Empire of the Sun, and how what I knew him from was because he did the music to Once Upon a Time. He does a lot of TV music as well. And when I was talking with him, once again, we did a great discussion of where he got where he was. This man was a classically trained trumpet player and played in orchestras, played in jazz bands, played in all of that. He just didn't wake up one day and be like, I'm going to write music for this. Years and years of experience with playing in the great orchestras of the world. And of course, composition is always a part of our study. I mean, I had to study that a great deal when I was in college. That didn't mean I became a composer necessarily, but you have to understand the concepts of that long before they get themselves in a situation where they're actually writing. And then, of course, long before they get the break to give a go at TV or movie.
I like John Barry. I think John Barry's very talented.
Oh, John Barry.
When he was alive. I mean, he did the Bond score, a lot of Bond scores, and he did Somewhere in Time, which is brilliant. And
Somewhere in Time. Oh my God.
Yeah, the music in that's brilliant. The film's not too bad either.
Yeah, another one, of course, another master is Bill Conti.
Yeah, but did he not pass away, Bill Conti?
No, he's still with us.
Right.
But he hasn't been writing for a very long time. But of course, he did Rocky.
Yes, he did,
an amazing. I could talk about the score to Rocky till the cows come home. Maybe that'll be another stream where we talk about that. But he did that, and he did the score to a TV miniseries called North and South. Which,
yes, he did.
Oh, that is an amazing score. It was back. It's still one of my favorite scores ever, whether it be movie or TV. And he did the Right Stuff. That's what he won an Academy Award for best score. And
he did. Yeah, he did For Your Eyes Only, James Bond movie.
Oh yes, he did the For Your Eyes Only. Yes, and Karate Kid. And I mean, not only was he a great. Well, I mean, when he was doing it, he was a great score and great conductor and all that classical stuff. But he wrote hits. He wrote hit songs with it, like things like "You're the Best" and some of his tunes from Rocky. Those were actually singles. That
you do know.
Away.
You do know, "You're the Best" was written for Rocky 3.
Yes, it was written for Rocky 3, and then they went with "Eye of the Tiger" instead.
Yes, they did. Yeah,
they
did.
So Teresa, we've talked about it a little bit. I don't recall, actually, I haven't seen it forever, but the Right Stuff movie, I'm working with the guy who's doing the TV show, right?
I know.
So
that's cool.
I wonder if they'll use the same music. I should look into that.
I might do.
I would doubt it because usually they don't. I mean, if it's different IPs, and I mean, maybe, I don't know. I'm very excited because we've got a release date for it because I was so upset when the COVID stuff happened. And now it's going to be released on Disney Plus, I guess. So that's going to enable it to be released. But
good. And is there a release date? I mean, I can ask Nick about it, but
well, what they've officially announced is it's coming in the fall. Though I don't know if they said the exact date, but that just happened a few days ago. Because remember how it was all of a sudden it was gone, like because it was supposed to come out I think in July, and it was going to be on Nat Geo, and then I think because of everything, Disney is consolidating everything into Disney Plus. They just made an announcement like 2 days ago that it's going to be in the fall on Disney Plus. And of course, I was just over the freaking moon, because,
well, that's cool. Yeah. See, and again, Nick is my friend from London, Ian. Director.
Right.
And, he's got about 50 IMDb credits to his name. And we're working on a comic book now. He's over 50.
All right.
So he likes to chat by email, which is infuriating to me. So I miss him.
Never understood why people like to chat by text and email. You got a phone, bloody use it.
10 years ago, email was a good way, but I have a few friends like that still, and I'll wake up, check my email. I've got over 10,000 unanswered emails at the moment, but I'll wake up, check my email, which I rarely do, and it'll be like, "Hey man, how's it going?" And that's an email. Like, that's what Twitter is for. That's what, gosh, even Messenger, Facebook, phone, on it goes.
I just hate texting. Every time I pick up the phone to try and phone someone, this happened today. I picked up the phone to phone someone, and they didn't answer. And then I said, "Oh, maybe he's out." And then I get a text saying, "Did you call?" It's like, why don't you just call me back?
Well, I mean, COVID is.
I'm trying to look up the credits here. I don't see anything. I mean, and the only reason why I would doubt it, Xevious, is because you know how it is, like scores and things like they're for a very specific thing, and I've never, unless it's like the same IP. I'm just not used to it being that, and I can't imagine. Well, I can't imagine they could afford what it would, because he would, unless they took some themes. So that'd be something to ask your friend maybe. But there's loads of stuff where Bill Conti is talking about his work on that score. And I love the score to The Right Stuff, but I would still say that's not his best work. I mean, that's how amazing this man is. He was one, and that's what I was going to say about things that influenced me, even though it wasn't a movie, but I would consider the miniseries North and South influenced me. Because again, of the music, Bill Conti score, if you haven't listened to it, you got to. But also the way, even though it was a big soap opera, it actually very, very accurately showed how the Civil War happened, how it was possible. Because the whole premise of it is there was Ori from the South, from South Carolina, and George from the North, and they were in West Point. And that really did happen. That a lot of the people, the generals that fought in the Civil War, they all met up at West Point because they went all over the country. They would come to West Point, all the rich kids' sons who went into the military. And they were the fictionalized versions of that. And then they formed a best friendship. And then it goes like through the 20 years leading up to the Civil War about the two families and how the issues that came up. And it really, really showed, okay, that's how the Civil War happened. And it really went into the complex issues of slavery, of the economics, of and the fact that a lot of people still just sit around and try to understand how on earth could the Civil War happen and they fight and slaughter each other, but literally once it was over, the people at least that fought, the soldiers, they like stayed friends. They still loved each other. And there was a very moving scene where in real life, this Joshua Lawrence Chamberlain, the hero from Gettysburg, from the 20th Maine, when the South was surrendering, he ordered his men, the Union, to salute the Confederacy. And North and South really brought that to life for me. And if there was a sequel to it, it would be probably the movie Gettysburg, which was a flawed film, but also really, really showed also the camaraderie of the soldiers. So both of those, and they did influence me in two ways. One, music. Two, history. I double majored in college. I was a history major and I was a music performance major. So the two great loves of my life merged together from those. And understand, I was a little one. I was a young one when those movies came out. Well, I was about 10, 11 when North and South came out, and I watched that, and that really influenced me. And then Gettysburg was when I was in college. Well, and of course, Glory when I was in high school. Glory's another one that really changed me.
Yep.
It's funny the things that change you when you're young, isn't it? I mean, it just takes one thing to literally, add your passion or add your geekness to it. I mean, as I said, all it took was one scene in Close Encounters, and that was it. When I came out of the cinema, I was like, this is what I want to do. I want to be a writing director now. I don't want to build models anymore. I want to write and direct. And, and the journey going from there to, I guess, to here where we are now. When I look back, it was fraught with problems and stuff like that. But at this point in moment in time, I'm kind of satisfied where I am, even though it's not where I thought I'd be, but it's where I'm supposed to be, if you know what I mean. So,
yeah, and you this is really, really cheesy, but the song from the stage show, A Chorus Line, where they sing "What I Did for Love."
Yeah.
And you can't regret, won't forget what I did for love. We did what we had to do. And it's like, yeah, you just had to do what you do. You write, I create, I'm a musician, writer, ZV's art. It's like it's like you just have to, and you would burst if you didn't.
Yeah, I know. Do you know what? Right, I'm going to talk about art a bit, and then I'll talk about music. Right. So, the thing that influenced me about art, right? Would you believe? And I saw there was more to art than it was, even though I could draw and stuff like that. I tell you what comic it was. It was Sin City. When I was in the comic store and I picked up the book Sin City, I just fell in love with it because it was so unique. It just dealt with two tones, black and white. And even have you read the Sin City novel, by the way, David? And there's that shot where I can't remember his name, the big guy, Marv, he's in the bathroom and he's got all the plasters on him and he's in shadow, but all the plasters, you can see all the plasters. The plasters don't have any shadows on him at all. And I thought, wow, that's amazing. He's literally taken something and basically just threw physics out the window just for this shot. Do you know what I mean? And that's when I realized there was more to drawing and art than just what I understood about art, if you know what I mean. And I think it was Frank Miller that showed me. And with music is the same thing. I remember, I always remember John Williams's score. But I can tell you there's three composers that literally made me love music. John Williams, what's his name? Jerry Goldsmith and John Barry. Those three to me are literally the best composers in the world as far as I'm concerned. You know what I mean? It's just my opinion. And I understand music because of those three. I understand the emotion of music because of those three. If those three didn't come along, it would go way over my head, music. And also, even you can now, because I can understand that music, I can see talent like Stevie Wonder. Stevie Wonder is incredibly talented, even if he's not singing. He knows how to play every instrument, right? He knows how to sing. He knows how to write music. It's incredible what that guy can do. And when you see talent like that, you just have to take your hat off to them. Every one of them, from artists to musicians to to writers, that and for me, that's what influences me. People's geniuses always influence me to move forward with everything that I love. So
sure,
there you go.
Yeah.
And
hey, R.I.P. R.I.P. Little Richard, by the way.
Oh yeah, R.I.P. Oh gosh, yeah, that was a legend. Well, and that's the other thing too, is you have people like them, Probably still living Elton John. Complete genius. Complete musical genius.
Yes.
Funny, you guys. There you go. That's what's fun about YouTube. I can't stand Elton John. Nothing personal.
That's all right. Yeah.
It's just like, I don't get it.
You don't get his music?
Nope.
So Tiny Dancer is probably one of the best songs he's ever written. I love that track, and I mean, Rocket Man is absolutely brilliant as far as I'm concerned. But then that's just me. Everybody has their own tastes, don't they?
Yeah.
I mean, it's it.
Okay, I mean, it's a free country.
I think Tracy's upset. She's
I'm
upset.
disapproving. Okay.
Well, maybe the US is free. I would say Canada and the UK aren't quite so much, but
well, Texas is free. The freest country in the world. Wow. Xevious, you just it's okay. It's okay. I'm not completely judging you, but wow.
Oh, come on. If I played you some of my favorite independent bands, you would leave the room.
But yeah, I mean, no, I totally get what you're saying. Yeah, I totally get what you're saying. Everybody has their own tastes and stuff like that. I would honestly say my taste is very structured. Like for instance, when it came to punk, I couldn't understand that because that's very unstructured. And when it comes to jazz, it's very unstructured, real jazz. That is. I don't understand that at all. But for me, when it comes to art and stuff, I love the things that are structured and has a point to what they're trying to do. But that's just me. I don't see further than that. That's my failing, I reckon.
Yeah. Well, I'm just curious. I mean, I'm not going to judge you too hard, but first of all, what Elton John sounds great, but what he does theory-wise in his music, I don't know. I mean, what he because that's the difference between him and just like a hack or something. This man understands the mechanics of music, and of course, he studied classical music as a child. Went to some big oratory and all that. So within his music, the structure and the I just can't believe it. I mean, it's okay, Xevious. I'm just saying. I keep saying it's okay, but I think I'm sounding insincere. It's just, I mean, I have another friend. He's an organist. Plays at cathedrals and stuff, and he's the same way. We just sit and listen to Elton John, and we're just like, oh my gosh, this is just amazing. So,
yeah, no, I get you. It's a fascinating topic to me because. I mean, I started playing very young, performing and recording a bit in punk rock bands and sort of, experimental kind of out there stuff. But at the same time, I'd studied classical theory. So, I know we've talked about music lots of times. I know I have a very good grasp of the fundamentals and the theory and, what I can listen to something and tell you what, the key and the modality and all that sort of thing. But I can't stand going to, say, a jazz bar for a glass of wine. And the freeform stuff, it drives me nuts. Yeah, because to me, it's a bunch of people patting each other on the back for how smart they are, as opposed to say the Ramones, 3-chord rock, right? It's in E minor, go. What? I guess that's a 1-4-5, right, Teresa? Back again. That's cool. That's energetic. It's fun. When some guy gets up there on a saxophone for like 2 minutes and it's like and he's working off his charts and then he's done and people politely clap and then it goes over to the guitar player who screws around in Phrygian mode.
I will admit that kind of jazz I will admit to you. I'm not into that. But the rawness of, especially in its context of when you have from the African American community, and when you just get going, and sometimes you're just singing a gospel song or something. There's a rawness to it. If you're talking about lounge music, I can get you on that. But when you're really with the craft, where it's really a part of the people's heritage, I sometimes people will joke with me that I'm too white for it, and I agree that I am, because there's something very raw within the African American experience and community that I will never be able to have, even though technically I can do it or I can join in. When that happens, it's electric. In my humble opinion. And but yeah, I know what you mean about some dork sitting there with his stupid sax.
But say for instance, music. Like say for instance, we talk about Queen. Say when they wrote Bohemian Rhapsody. When they wrote Bohemian Rhapsody, okay, right, it was a cross between opera and rock. And nobody understood it, and it took a whole 3 years for people to actually embrace it because Queen really believed in it. And there's a comedian over here called Kenny Everett, and he used to work on Radio 1, and nobody would play it. And because what's his name, the front of Queen, Freddie Mercury, and him, they were both friends and they were both gay. He went on his show. And then Kenny played it, and then people realized how good it was, and then it picked up from there. And then in their concerts, they started singing it as well, and it became famous. And that's how it became famous. What the point I'm trying to make is that sometimes when something's really good, it takes years and years and years. People realize how really good it is. If you listen to that track, that Bohemian Rhapsody, it's freaking genius. You know, there's no way you could say that is rubbish. It's genius. The way it starts, the way you think it's crap. Seriously,
it's absolute rubbish.
Really?
Well, and
I love it. I think it's genius.
Well, and to go back with that, with what Zevius was saying about the jazz and stuff in context. Yeah. Well, though you just blew my brain. You think Bohemian Rhapsody is no good?
I think it's genius. I think
it's being said by Zevius. Was Zevius saying that?
I think Devious was saying it was rubbish.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if he was just teasing us.
I don't know either.
Okay, it's not teasing us. Okay. All right. Well, okay. So, but what you were saying though, what we were talking about the jazz experience, I would argue that part of what made it annoying was because it wasn't in its proper context.
Okay.
Jazz is not supposed to be.
Oops.
I don't know.
Sorry. Okay, I released a single about a year ago. Can I play it for you guys?
Sure.
Is it as good as Bohemian Rhapsody?
So yeah, you guys tell me. I'm gonna bring up the screen. Hang on.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, because part of me is thinking, Zevius, I'm judging you pretty hard, and I'm usually trying to be this nice person.
That's because you don't like Elton John.
I thought he was teasing us about the Bohemian Rhapsody.
So did I.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to stop screen. Then I got to share screen. And then for audio, I need to use a Chrome tab with audio. Okay, this is 2 minutes long. Indulge me if you guys want. We can talk about it.
Sure.
This is co-written by me and my good friend Pat in New York City. Here we go. Okay, that's up.
Oh, sorry. I'm supposed to be the one pressing it, aren't I? I'm sorry. I was getting ready. Where's the music? Okay.
This is Two Lighters by the MF4. Here we go.
Money spent, baby, yeah, I drank all the rent. Whiskey bottles and cigarettes. Oh, baby, this is as good as it gets. Come on.
Yikes.
To alcohol. We got 3 more down the hall. 2 lighters and some alcohol. Come on. My hair's green.
Okay, that's my band.
Yeah. No, I mean, for what the genre that it is, it's heavy metal. So
yeah, punk metal, sort of late 60s, early 70s, kind of Iggy Pop, a little bit Iggy Pop kind of thing.
Yeah,
it's hard to play. There's lots of stuff going on behind the scenes.
Yeah, and you were playing the bass in that, or the guitar?
No, guitar. There's a solo. Want to hear that? Hang on.
Oh, okay, sure. Let's hear you play guitar.
Should be right around here. Here we go.
And we'll say you suck because you said Bohemian Rhapsody sucks. badass, Xevious.
2 letters and some alcohol.
That's not you singing, is it?
I got 3 more.
No, that's Pat.
There you go.
Yeah, that's Pat singing.
Yep.
No,
Yep.
that's awesome. I mean, that's badass.
Yeah, we have fun. It's silly stuff. So
Yeah.
anyway, thanks for listening. But that's
all right.
But Bohemian Rhapsody is still better.
okay. Fine.
Davis, how do you put sound on the live stream? Because my friend who's hosting a live stream on Friday is trying to figure out how to put sound from picture, like a video he wants to play. How did you do that? Was it you have to go through Chrome or something, or what did you do?
You have to go through Chrome, and you have to share a Chrome tab. So you got to tab it.
Let me write that down. Chrome tab.
Yep.
Did you say? Okay. Chrome tab.
And
Did you find that then?
And then you have to enable audio after you do that. That's in StreamYard.
It's in StreamYard. Okay. Okay.
They're mentioning some alcohol. Was alcohol involved in any of that, Xevious?
There's lots of cocaine and booze involved in this band.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
Not me. Not me. I quit.
Yeah.
Not the cocaine. Yeah. Well.
No. I'm too old to be doing things like that. That's you can have a heart attack in a heartbeat.
Yeah. Heart attack in a heartbeat.
A heart attack in a heartbeat.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, and of course, another great influence on me was musical theater, particularly the music of Andrew Lloyd Webber, Stephen Sondheim. Oh gosh, all of the Rodgers and Hammerstein, Robert and Hart.
Look who's turned up.
It's Finn, all the way from Washington from her helicopter. Welcome.
Hey, howdy. Well, to be fair, I would technically only be 38 minutes left, except someone did it an hour earlier than usual.
Okay.
She's blaming someone. I wonder who that is.
Well, no, I honestly, I can't blame you because I was late either way. Sorry.
No, you're not late. I mean, we're very laid back people here. We're having musings. You missed the daytime drinking, though. And that was earlier at the beginning. Yeah, I've been putting a daytime drinking recipe from my Drinking with the Saints: The Sinner's Guide to a Holy Happy Hour. It's the best drink recipe book ever.
Where we're talking about music, script writing, art, and how
boozing
much,
with the Saints.
Yeah, that's right. And how much Xevious hates Bohemian Rhapsody.
I know. He wasn't joking. And then he doesn't like jazz. And then he doesn't like the Beatles. He doesn't like Elton John. I'm judging you.
That's okay. Judge away. It's fine.
Yeah, I know. You're secure in who you are, so you're fine with it.
It's good.
My goodness.
I like my punk rock bands. That's all.
Sid Vicious.
Yeah. Well, Xevious, we need to do, if you ever have the time, because remember we were going to use that little motif that you have that you were going to use for Sins of the Fae for Miss Martin Muse's theme, right? But you were going to harden it up or soften it up. What were we going to do with that?
Oh no, I liked it. That little melody I wrote was best as a vocal with you in your voice, as is. And I think that it sounded best on a mandolin, really. I think we all sort of agreed on that too.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I listen to all genres, but it's, if you give me the Dead Kennedys versus Queen, I'm going to pick the Dead Kennedys every time because I think, it's very subjective. I realize that, but it's because it's better.
Yeah. I think I like solid things. As I said, I mean, I never got into punk and stuff like that because it always seemed to me just out of sync for some reason. If you can understand what I'm saying, I always like music and art and stuff where it's kind of solid and I know where I'm going and what it's about, and so I don't have to work too hard.
So, what it is for me is I think what I like is I like dynamics.
Yeah.
And so when you look at the way I color things are like blam. There's electric red. There's fluorescent blue. There's whatever. So in music, it's like I like hearing. It's quiet, and then suddenly, like, okay, here's a good example that everybody listening can understand. Nirvana, Smells Like Teen Spirit, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know,
Mhm.
it's like the guitar goes do do, a couple notes, and it goes on for what, 16 bars, and then something does a yell, and it has that. The chorus is like do do. Do, do. I mean, it's huge. It becomes massive, and then it gets quiet again. It gets massive.
That's the one that goes blah, 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 blah,
Yes.
blah, 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 blah.
Not
That's the one.
not like that, but yes.
I'm pretty sure those were the exact lyrics.
Yeah.
Da-da-ba-da.
Well, wasn't it Weird Al Yankovic that did
Yes.
a thing
Yes.
with it where he just like has marbles in his mouth and he's drinking water? Because that's what it sounds like when he sings.
Totally.
But you know, they weren't a one-hit wonder, though. I mean, they created some really great tracks.
Oh, yeah.
So,
There's
Yeah.
so many amazing bands in the 90s that I
Yeah.
miss now.
Yeah.
That's one of them. Like, I used to hear them so much.
and everything.
Yep.
Mhm.
Ugh.
No, Nirvana changed the music industry because, you know, we're all old. We're all different ages. Ian's the old man here.
Speak for yourself.
Thank you.
No, I'm just kidding.
Finn's a baby. Finn's the fetus. She's in her 30s still.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I,
Oh,
thought,
I like that you think that's still a fetus. Thank you.
I know,
Compared to me, yes, you are.
but by the way, I thought you were 20 until you actually told us how old you were. So that's good. But
Oh, yeah.
I think we're all old enough that I grew up with there was something called independent music or indie music.
Yeah, indie music.
Or sorry, in fact, alternative music.
Mhm.
After Nirvana dropped in 1990, I want to say 91, when they hit the radio,
Mhm.
suddenly alternative music doesn't exist anymore. There's no such thing because they went so mainstream. You know, you could be a teenager, be like, yeah, I'm kind of into alternative. It's gone, which is cool because now it just sort of opened the floodgates for everything.
They did go mainstream. I mean, I always thought they were mainstream anyway.
Sure, but that was once they hit the radio. But I mean, like I saw them in a pub with maybe like 10 people a couple years before that, and there was a little crappy Seattle band, same as 1,000 others.
Yeah.
But they made it work mostly because the production was so good. It was a guy named Butch Vig came in and produced them.
Mm.
And sorry, I don't want to hijack your show, Teresa, and turn this into music talk, but
Oh, well, no, I mean, it goes where it is. I mean, I can always change the
yeah, I know.
thing because music is writing and music is creating. And to be honest, I was going to do a little bit of a workshop if no one showed up, but y'all showed up, and so this is what you do. And I had some other friends that might be coming on, not today, but wanting to talk about the art of writing as well.
Yeah.
And
But I mean, with you, talking about music, you sound like you're what's the word to use? You're against the mainstream stuff. That's why I'm quite surprised you like Star Wars because that's very mainstream.
No, I love lots of. No, I'm not against mainstream. I like it to be passionate. So, I mean,
and Bohemian Rhapsody's not passionate. Come on.
No, it's a bunch of goofballs doing fancy harmonizing.
That's not the way I see it.
Okay, yeah, I see it as showing off.
But everybody shows off. Beatles showed off. Even Tom Jones shows off when he was in his prime as well.
Oh, Tom Jones, I love it. Well, I will say this about Bohemian Rhapsody. What I believe makes it objectively a great song is what they did do with all those layers and stuff at the time. And it's been so emulated since then, but what they did with combining within one song all those different styles of music and vocals and those layers, especially. So objectively speaking, it was.
It wasn't mainstream.
Nothing had really been like that before, and maybe not since.
It wasn't mainstream when it came out. People rejected it left, right, and center. And that's the genius of it. That Freddie Mercury and Queen believed in it so much that they insisted in singing it during their concerts, even though it was a B-side of an A-side. So, and once they started singing it, people got used to it and realized, the genius of the song, and it's pretty much. There's only songs like that come around once in a while, you know, and Human Rhapsody is one of them, as far as I'm concerned, of course.
No, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, well, people just like Xevious thought it was rubbish.
Rubbish.
Yeah.
It's Wayne's World. That's it.
No, you see, that's the thing. Well before Wayne's World, it was, you know, a huge. I remember, right? It was so long that you know, that the Top of the Pops used to have a show called Top of the Pops, used to play it. They couldn't play the whole track. They had to literally cut it off halfway through. You know, and then the radio as well. The radio found it hard to play the whole track as well. They used to cut it halfway through. So, you know, in that respect, it's something that sticks out. It was doing something that nobody had done at that time. So that's the reason why I think it's genius, because it was going against the grain. But, you know, as I said, it's just my opinion, of course.
No, I'd say music. It's about. I love talking about music. It's the same as talking about movies. I mean, have at it. You know, whatever someone's opinion is, it doesn't bother me in the least. You know.
Yeah.
And again,
I do want to find out, Xevious, if you have a chance to talk to your friend to see about who is doing the music for the new Right Stuff, because that can also make the difference between it being good and it being friggin' epic. Because as scores, when I think of all the great movies that have moved me, all of them, the ones I mentioned, was it Glory, Gettysburg, North and South, Rocky, A Man for All Seasons. That's one of the ones that also changed my life. All of them had magnificent music scores.
Yep. Yeah, I'll ask. So, like Nick Copus, you know, if you look at the Right Stuff on IMDb, I believe he has top billing even above the writer, even, which is almost weird.
He did. No, I'm sorry. I'm just answering this thing. Tom Jones saved the world. He did. He did.
Yeah. Oh, I thought you knew. It's like, wow, you know all about the billing from the Right Stuff. Yeah, Tom Wolfe. He's top billed over Tom Wolfe, right?
Yes. Well, I don't know. I looked at it probably last, August, I'll bet. Yeah. But yeah, Nick is working directly with Disney and I guess National Geographic as the director on that show. So, yeah, I'll ask him. If music was good, I'm sure I would think they'd keep it, actually, because that was probably mid 80s when that movie came out. I remember reading the book when I was a kid.
So also, sometimes you watch a film and the soundtrack's better than the film. you come out the cinema going, that soundtrack was brilliant. I give you an example. The Black Hole, Walt Disney's Black Hole, wasn't a very good film, but when I came out the cinema, I could hum the theme to the Black Hole. That was John Barry, and I thought it was brilliant. But you know, sometimes you go to see a film and the music's much better.
Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves is another example of a magnificent score and a horrible movie. Yeah.
Definitely.
I like that.
Hey, you like Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves?
It's a guilty pleasure. It's not because of Kevin Costner. I actually mock him every time I watch it. But I really like Alan Rickman in it. And at the time I was introduced to it, I had a major crush on Christian Slater. Did you ever see the movie he was in? It was like Monkey Heart or something like that. No, there was like some weird, crazy, like teen romance movie he was in the 80s.
Oh,
apparently he had like a heart. No, he had like a heart transplant with a monkey.
Oh yes, that was Marissa Tomei. Marissa Tomei was in it. And
there you go.
That
was my crush.
Yeah, it was the most ridiculous thing ever. So Robin Hood was a step up for me.
Okay,
I liked him in. You ever see that film Cuffs? That nobody ever talks about. I liked him in that film. I thought that film was quite fun. Have you ever seen Cuffs? I liked it, but everybody hated it for some reason. But there you go.
Sometimes it's the obscure ones that are the best.
I'm sorry, objectively speaking, you can tell though that Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves was a terrible movie. I mean, it really was.
Oh yeah.
It wasn't too bad. It was very enjoyable. It's much better than the British version because both films came out at the same time, Robin Hood and Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. And the British version was so dull.
The best one was Men in Tights.
Well, of course. I think we can all agree on that.
Absolutely.
Agreed.
They had the best king, too, Sir Patrick Stewart.
Well, of course it did, yeah.
Yeah, but was it Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves? They had Sean Connery at the ending, so you can't beat that one, can you?
Yeah.
Yeah, but he was the Scottish king of England. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like he didn't
exactly.
try to hide the accent.
Yeah,
He's like, "This is for you, Sir Robin of Locksley," and that's my awesome accent. But you know what? I think it's good.
well, you got him, and then you got what's it, Kevin Costner with his American accent playing a Britishman. I mean, what else can you do? Right?
Oh yeah, I know. Like seriously, there's like this great scene where he's like hiding and he's covered in crap, and Marion's like, "Oh, you smell." She's like, "You need to go take a bath," and he's like, "Oh yeah, I'll go take a bath." And then she's like, "Yeah, go take a bath." And there's like this one point where they just like repeat the same word, and it's so obvious that he's an American accent. And I'm like, why would you do that? It was just awful.
Because he sold movies in those days. People would rush to the cinema to see Kevin Costner. He was a big box office hero.
He's a saltine cracker, like he's always been to me. He's so bland. Like you could take Kevin Costner and stick him in any movie and it would work okay. But you could easily put someone else in the same role, and it would probably be really, really bad.
I don't know. There's something vulnerable about Kevin Costner in movies. You look at Fields of Dreams, and you look at what's that one with the Indians, which I really hated that film actually. Dance with Wolves, a very racist film, but there you go. It's something very vulnerable about him. I think the audience kind of relate to. So even though he's good looking, you know what I mean.
Well, that's a nice way to look at it.
Yeah, that's nice. Because he's not too good looking, so people don't hate him.
Yeah.
Good looking.
Yeah,
that's true. He's just right.
Yeah, he was really good in The Untouchables. I mean, he played the clean cut hero, and he did look like the hero in that film. So there were parts that were made for him, and I guess those parts were made for him. But now you can't sell him for love nor money, can you? Can't sell any star for love nor money.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing with him. I think that he's not necessarily a great actor. He plays himself in every. I mean, he plays the same role in every single thing he does, but he does have a je ne sais quoi of charisma.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Waterworld. What a great movie.
Well, that wasn't his fault.
Yeah, it was a fun one though.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, that was Dennis Hopper, right?
Yes.
The crazy guy. Yeah, every movie he's in is worth watching. He's just got that personality. He was also in the Super Mario Brothers movie, right?
That was a terrible film.
That was such a fun movie.
No way, it wasn't.
But I have to admit, I watched it when I was like super young. So I loved it because I didn't equate it to the video game. And so it's like everybody hates on it, but I'm like, if you look at it without the Super Mario context.
Dude, you're becoming like an 80s arcade.
Yeah.
That was awesome. That's the best robot I've ever heard.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
Any better?
Yeah, you've gotten better.
Oh, okay.
No, but that was amazing, Finn.
I did nothing, but truly, it's all talent.
I think it's amazing. What did you say? What declared it the best roboting we've ever heard?
Yes.
Thank you. I will take that.
It was fantastic.
Yeah, it's, as I said, I mean, music and film and writing is all subjective. I would honestly, truly say that the last Star Wars films, both Roundhead's film and JJ's film, were terrible screenplays. The characters didn't grow, they didn't go anywhere. It was if I was in college because I've never been to college, screenplay writing school, whatever, I would have got an E for that. What's the lowest mark you can get? Because I don't understand how they can get away with that. That is just those screenplays were terrible, absolutely awful.
I think people just stopped caring. Yeah, and my dog agrees.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, you know, and as I said, you know, with talent, it's all about, I guess, the opinion of someone, isn't it? Really. One thing I do know, though, guys, I can honestly, truly say that if you've created something with passion and love, and it's good or brilliant, even maybe in your lifetime it won't be appreciated, but after it never, something that's good never ever gets ignored. Sometimes it takes forever to get recognized for what it is, you know. So just bear that in mind when you're
Yeah,
creating.
look at all the artists that it wasn't until they died that people realized how great their stuff was.
Yeah.
Oh, that was such a good episode of Doctor Who.
Yeah. But
I know.
But just
that really, my brain goes there. Oh.
Just an example, I remember when ABBA first started and everybody hated ABBA and they thought it was too quiche, and you know, they thought it was too you know, niche, and people used to take the mickey out of ABBA, used to have sketch shows taking the mickey out of ABBA, and now years later they think it's brilliant. Their music is brilliant, you know. That's what people are saying, you know. That's what I'm saying. I think if something's really good, it will be recognized one day. You know, if it's crap,
I think we actually do make fun of ABBA still. But
yeah, we do. we do.
We appreciate the art.
Yeah.
And the money they made.
Yeah. I mean, you know,
those dudes must be so rich.
Oh,
sorry, what? What was that?
Oh, those guys gotta be so rich.
So rich.
Oh, yeah,
I mean, the dude who wrote the music for ABBA. Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
and the amount of times that stuff is done. I mean, even those stupid Mamma Mia movies and the musical. Every time that thing is played, those guys go cha-ching.
Yeah.
And they did Chess. That was an amazing musical, Chess. That score.
I took my 90-year-old grandma to see the Mamma Mia movie, and it was hilarious. She loved it because I knew she would, because it's just like one of those straightforward happy musicals. But she came out of it and she was like, "Oh, that's a handsome man. I liked him so much." She had such a thing for Pierce Brosnan after that. It was hilarious. I took her back a second time because she wanted to see him again.
Oh my gosh. Oh, poor Pierce Brosnan. Oh, my stupid cat. Oh my gosh. Okay, sorry. I love my cat, but he just okay.
But even when you think about you know, the albums that you listened to when you were young, if they were good, they would never survive today. Like I give you a prime example: Phil Spector's Christmas album. You know, that's played every Christmas, and it's still great as far as I'm concerned. Obviously, because I listened to it when I was a kid, and as an adult, you know, I think, you know, it reminds me of being a kid and stuff like that. But even if I didn't have that, I'd still think that album was really well done. You know, the Christmas album was really well done. And there's certain songs in the world that you just cannot forget, like you know, stuff that I guess Nat King Cole had sung. You know, even going down to Tom Jones, some of the songs that Tom Jones has sung. You know,
well, you know, it's kind of frustrating because I'm starting to notice songs either imitating like the opening chords of other ones that are very popular, or just conveniently being exactly like it. So like it'll play on the exact same nostalgia thing where I'll be on the radio, I'll hear the first two notes and I'll be like, "Oh God, yes, this song," and then it goes into a different one, and I'm like, "No."
What's an example? Can you think of one?
Oh God, there's like two that I constantly hear. I couldn't name them if I tried, honestly. It's just like when I hear them, I know that there's like one I like and one I just do not.
What about Ghostbusters? Yeah. Ghostbusters is so famous, but you do realize that
I want a new drug.
Ray Parker Jr. took those chords from that one, and they won the court case, didn't they? I mean, Huey Lewis won the court case.
Yep.
No, he didn't actually.
Oh, he didn't? I heard that he won.
No.
Oh well, there was the Ice Ice Baby one that like went to court. That one was funny. Yeah. That's obvious though. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I think that it was. I mean, they couldn't prove. I mean, because it's really hard to prove something like that. Let me see. But
I think he won. Did he not win? Because they
No.
weren't allowed to use it in the second Ghostbusters movie. They had to create something new for it. That's why you never heard the theme in the second Ghostbusters. I think he won the court case.
Mm-mm.
No, he didn't win.
It might have been that it was still ongoing at
Oh, I
that point, and they
see.
might
Yeah.
not have wanted to use it.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
probably right. You're probably right. Mm.
Yeah, it can take quite a while for those things to go through.
Mm.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So hey Teresa, hey ladies, I designed this character with my two compadres just about a month ago.
You got teeth.
How handsome is this dude?
He reminds me of me when I was young.
I like him.
Okay. Here's the details.
Going in.
They quote unquote settled out of court, and
see.
later Lewis received a payment, a settlement, and so that was that. So no one won and no one lost. It sounds like.
Well, it looks like they both won.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they won, but you know what I'm saying. As far as no one admitted anything, but they're like, "Here's a nice little sum of cash here," and was more than happy with it. So yes, so that's that.
But Huey's got power of love, though. You know what I mean? He's got power of love that follow him till his grave, man. Huey.
Yeah,
so,
from Back to the Future. Well, and of course, he's got so many good songs.
Yeah, yes, actually. Yes, I really used to like. I had a couple of his albums. I don't know where they've gone now on vinyl. When I was a lad, a lad. Yeah. So I think he's good. I really enjoy his music.
Yeah,
totally.
Look, I think I need to feed the darn cat. That's why he's giving me hell. He just ripped my earbuds right out of my ears. So I'm just gonna run take care of him. So he'll leave me alone because he's evil. Okay.
That is a clever kitty. So tell us about this character.
Yeah, what's his name?
Okay, so this is CJ, and he's from Sins of the Fae, the book I'm doing with Buddy Lord. He was in his early 20s. I think he's 21, 22 years old in World War II, and I don't have his whole backstory, but essentially he became a vampire by I think pretty much the standard process. And the book is set in contemporary United States, and he's the groundskeeper for our protagonist and her two daughters. So he's what's the term? He's a vampire. But
is he a protector as well?
He's a protector.
That's pretty useless during the day, though. Must be asleep during the day.
I believe he's fine in daytime. Actually, I don't know.
Oh, he's a day walker.
Yep.
Okay.
Because it's weird. Like, I mean, I've probably worked on about 10 books now this last year, and I work really closely with the writers, but I don't necessarily have the full script, or I might not know what book is coming up next. So I don't know everything. I only know, it's kind of need to know to get the work done.
Yeah.
So, figured out what he looks like and how he stands and what weapons he holds. And, the coat is based on a Melton coat, circa, World War II officer.
Yeah.
And then I worked with Joe.
What's the CJ stand for then?
It's a good question, man. I have no idea. CJ is his name. That's as far as it goes.
Well, if this was in the 70s, his name would be Leroy.
Yeah.
No, that would be early 2000, and his last name would be Jenkins.
Yeah, or something like that. Yeah.
It's we live in such a funny world right now, especially with I saw a tweet this morning, and it was from our artist, and he showed some other versions of this, and he mentioned the name of the dragon. Now, I did a concept sketch for this piece about a week or two ago, and I said, hey, I want him with one of the other, because they're called the pen dragons. There's 5 of them. Mm-hmm. So the first dragon is he's half made of metal and half made of wood, because he originated from an 1870s rifle. It's a long story. This guy, I saw, I basically woke up on Twitter to find out this guy's name, because it's not like we're sitting in an office 10 hours a day talking about this stuff. So it's very organic.
I mean, when I create characters, I usually have like solid names. I don't like. I've noticed that names are when people pick names, they really pick weird names.
Yep.
Well, not weird names, but names. It's just I don't know. Like what's the girl in Twilight? What's her name? The main girl in Twilight.
Bella Swan.
Bella.
I mean, it's kind of like it's very bookish, isn't it? Bella Swan. Do you know what I mean? And I mean, no, the chances of someone named Bella Swan is in that kind of environment is very rare. I always choose
very Harlequin romance.
Yeah, I choose to pick solid names like John or Rebecca, of course, Jackie. Do you know what I mean? I'm always attracted to solid names rather. The only character that I've created that has a weird name is August Temple, and because I know a lot of people. Some people, you can use August as a first name.
Oh yeah, I really like that.
Yeah,
that's
August
cool.
Temple.
That's cool.
Yeah, he's a private dick. He's not a happy person.
I like that, the name idea, because it's just like it's a little quirky, but names that exist. So
yeah. I was gonna call my story "The Coming of August," but then I thought, nah, that sounds a bit rude. But I mean, as I said, creating names for characters there's an art form to that too, I guess. I mean, Indiana Jones, come on, what a brilliant name.
That's a magnificent name.
That was George Lucas's dog.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was.
Indiana, and then they made that joke at the very end of The Last Crusade.
Dog.
They named the dog Indy.
Dog. Yeah. I mean, Han Solo, Luke Skywalker. I mean,
they're all silly names. They're awesome.
But they're all great names. I mean, they really are freaking fantastic. I mean, Sam Spade. I mean, come on. Sam Spade's a great private detective name. Great private detective name. There are just certain names that just literally, when you hear it, you can actually see the character. Yeah.
So I've gone to Twitter. So this dragon's name is Artorias.
Oh, that's a good name.
This is the dawning of the age of Artorias.
Okay. Please answer a really quick question, because I get triggered by songs. Like I hear them and I think of things immediately. Did you ever watch Bird on a Wire?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Well, 2 out of 3. That's not too bad. If you ever get a chance, it's a ridiculous 80s action movie romance with.
I know what you're talking about. I've heard what they did to that song.
That's the first time I ever heard the song. So every time I hear it, I immediately see the scene in my head.
Oh, so you don't know? You didn't know that it was an abomination when you heard it.
So what is it?
No, I didn't.
It's like,
please explain.
This is the dawning of the age. Oh, it just hurts. It's like just take.
Oh yeah. So that doesn't actually sound like that.
Down a chalkboard.
You ever see that film Forever Young with Mel Gibson?
Oh my God, yes. My mom was she was so into that. Well, I was at the age where romance was kind of gross.
I thought it was quite fun. It was a lot of fun.
But it was really depressing to me because it was so sad. I don't do bittersweet very well. I've got a best friend who she convinced me to watch Pan's Labyrinth. I won't say the exact ending, but she thought it was an awesome ending, and I went home depressed. And she's like, "But you didn't like happy ending for me?" And she's like, "I thought it was happy."
Yeah, but did you understand the ending though? That's the thing, Finn.
Well, yeah. No, that's the thing. It's I understand it, and it's one of the. But my thing is bittersweet. I don't consider happy, and she considers bittersweet happy. That's kind of the difference, because bittersweet, I feel is it's what you're given, but you don't necessarily want to accept.
Okay, well, if you look at it this way, right? If everything that happened is true according to the little girl, that means she won the biggest prize of all. she won total happiness. That's what it means.
Well, yeah.
Beyond. It's like heaven. She went to heaven. So,
okay, yeah, I guess. Well, you're looking at it from an internalizing. I guess if you look at it from her point of view, it's happy. But I guess I was looking at it from the exterior, going, "Oh my God, this is such a terribly sad situation."
Yeah, but that's what's brilliant about the film, is because you either choose the negative side or the positive side, and it's up to you at the ending. And that's why I think it's genius, the ending. So so I choose the happy ending personally.
I have a different perspective now. All right. Well, sorry, way laid that one, but hey, it's writing.
Yeah. But there's a lot of good endings, right, in movies. Like I don't know if you guys have watched. You probably haven't, but there's a film called The Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3, with Walter Matthau. And the ending in that is to die for. The ending, just the look that he gives at the ending. You laugh and you cheer and you think I just thought it was an amazing end. Another good ending is it's not great, but it's a good ending. Is what's that one with Harrison Ford, and he plays that they plays the CIA agent. What's it called? Ryan.
CIA or FBI?
CIA. Jack Ryan. He plays Jack Ryan. The very first film he played Jack Ryan in. And at the ending, halfway through the film, his wife is pregnant. And then she's on the phone and she says to him, "Do you want to know what the sex of the baby is?" And he says, "No, absolutely not." And then right at the ending, where everything had finished, they had this little prologue where he's sitting there and she's on the phone and she's talking to the doctor, and she puts the phone down and she says to Harrison Ford, "Do you want to know?" Harrison Ford goes, "No." And then he goes, "Yes. Okay, tell me." And then it cuts to black. I thought that was a great end, because he doesn't tell you what the sex of the baby is. It just cuts to black. So,
cute.
Yeah, I thought it was quite cute ending. After all the action and stuff. Yeah.
I just realized that he's also an agent. I don't know if it's FBI or CIA, and the most wonderful cop movie ever, Hollywood Homicide.
God, that was terrible.
Yeah.
The one with Josh Hartnett. Okay, that was during another heart phase where I was super obsessed with Josh Hartnett, and he was super hot. So I watched that movie so many times. Oh my God.
Yeah, I understand.
But now it's kind of ingrained in me, and I have a nice warm spot in my heart for it.
Yep. Isn't Josh Hartnett? He's annoyingly good looking, that dude.
Yes, it's frustrating.
Wasn't he dating Demi Moore at one point?
Yep.
Demi Moore? All right. I don't know what she looks like.
I think she's got a type, because Ashton Kutcher looked a lot like him at the time.
You're right. I actually mixed them up in my head.
I think it's Ashton Kutcher that dated her. I think. So I'm not sure. I can't remember. I don't keep all Hollywood stuff, but
everyone furiously Googles.
It's basically the 7 Degrees of Kevin Bacon, but with dating, because I'm pretty sure they've all dated each other, or it's more like a soap opera. They're all connected.
Yeah, Patriot Games. Thanks for telling me.
Yeah,
that film was called with Harrison Ford. Harrison Ford was riding high, wasn't he? Around the 80s and the 90s. He was the man to go to, wasn't he? At one point, Harrison Ford. You'd think he'd be grateful. He isn't. It's a miserable son of a bitch, old Harrison Ford, isn't he? Let's face it.
He's hilarious.
He had a series of kind of blah movies that might have, discouraged him some, because 6 Days, 7 Nights was kind of not a very inspiring movie, if you ever saw that one.
Well, it was ill-conceived. You can't remake a classic like that.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even know it was a remake.
Before that, though. But you didn't know it was a remake?
Witness.
No.
Witness.
Girl. I mean, it was
know,
from a
I'm
Katharine
horrible.
Hepburn movie. I mean, you can't.
Oh my gosh.
That movie. I the one with the romance. You're talking about that one, Tracer?
Yeah, I mean, 6 Days and 7 Nights. Yeah, and it's like it was a remake of The African Queen, which is like, no, you can't do that.
Yeah,
It's
you're
like,
right.
what?
I was gonna-
In the same way they tried to remake An Affair to Remember, and
That's
it's like,
that one too. Yes.
no,
Yeah. Yeah, it was terrible.
it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
But he was a jerk before that. I mean, he was always like, "Oh, Star Wars is dumb," and it's like, okay, Mister Ungrateful.
Yeah. You know, he was in an episode of Kung Fu. You know, it was a really small part. Yeah, it was a really small part. He played the sheriff and told that Kane he can go because he was in jail. He was very young at the time. I was quite surprised when I was watching an episode of Kung Fu, and I was like, "Oh, that's Harrison Ford." You know, he was skipping in and out because he was a carpenter, so it was really hard for him to find work. I can't understand why. The guy's so good looking. You'd think that Hollywood would snap him up, but maybe he had an attitude or something. I don't know.
Well, they did snap him up. I mean, when it comes down to it, like everybody they tried out for Han Solo, no one was as good as Harrison Ford, and they're just like, "Oh, screw it, we're going to use you, Mr. Carpenter guy." I think he was fixing the doorway to Steven Spielberg's office.
Yeah,
is how it's called. Yeah.
And they were reading for Star Wars and for Carrie at the and it's funny though, because so when you watch the auditions, it's like, oh, that's the person that ended up in Carrie. Like a lot of the people, that in because they were double dipping. But Harrison Ford, yes, he's brilliant. Yes, he's good looking, but he is not conventionally so. And with his looks, something like Han Solo, he was perfect for, and then was really able to show off his star stuff. But as far as that, conventional looks, he never had them.
There's always something about him that was slightly a little bit off. Like he was always placed in and slightly out of place. You know, like think of American Graffiti, right? Like everybody looked younger than him, and then there's Star Wars, and everybody was much younger than him, and like it seems like everything he's cast in, he's older than everybody. You know, like it, even in Indiana Jones movie. Well, no, the difference with that is that seemed closer, I guess, but I still think that Karen lady was younger.
Young,
she was like, I was young, I was in love.
But he was very nervous when he did the first Indiana Jones film, and the thing is though, unfortunately for everybody else, he was so right for that role. The reason why he was right for that role because he's very manly. Do you know what I mean? And that's what you needed for Indiana Jones, because Indiana Jones was a throwback, wasn't it? It was a two-fisted, guy that would shoot first and ask questions later, but he was an archaeologist as well. So he was, because of Harrison Ford, the way he's in real life, that was like a marriage made in heaven, so to speak. So, he was very, very right. I mean, the alternative was what's his name? The Magnum guy. Can't remember his name, but
Tom Selleck.
Tom
Selleck. Yeah, the alternative.
Oh yeah, he would have been terrible.
I don't know. He would have been all right. He would have been all right.
He would not have been Indiana Jones, though.
Yeah, but you wouldn't have known if he got cast by Indiana Jones. You wouldn't have known, so you would just expect him.
Here's the problem, though. For that guy, I can never picture him. I only picture his mustache. Like if he had been in that role, and I'm certain he would have insisted on keeping that mustache.
Probably,
because like he's got it in like everything, and it's just like its own character.
It's his thing, yeah. But you see, if he'd have done that, he wouldn't have been Magnum PI.
That's right.
Magnum PI was great, and NYPD Blue.
Yeah. I do like
Blue Bloods. Blue Bloods. My fault. It's Blue Bloods. Yeah.
I do like Tom Selleck. I think Tom Selleck comes across as a really nice person, and his characters that he plays quite likable. Well, in Magnum, he was very likable. Put it that way.
Yeah. Well, and he was in Friends.
Yeah.
I was gonna say he was one of my favorite boyfriends for Monica. He was really nice.
Well, you didn't like Chandler? Oh my God.
Well, no, I liked him. I thought he was good as a tryst, but when they carried the relationship on, I was really annoyed with it, honestly.
Well, those two broke up the friends, didn't they? Because once they got married, once they were going to have a child, they had to leave the apartment, and then that was the end of the show, wasn't it? So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, but they wrote, but they had the end of the show in mind.
yeah.
Well, right. Yeah. But if you look at it story wise, they effed it all up.
They did.
And Joey tried to go and make it big, and he effed it up.
yeah.
Mhm.
I do like
never
Joey,
watched
though.
the spinoff. Did you watch it by chance?
What's that?
The spinoff that they
Yeah,
the
one or
spinoff they
two
tried to do.
episodes.
Joey,
1 or
Yeah.
2 episodes.
Yeah.
it was
That was
okay, but
nothing.
spinoffs very rarely work.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
Fraser did.
Oh,
Ooh,
that,
yeah.
I was going to say Fraser.
Ooh.
Fraser was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. All the episodes were funny. There's not one episode I didn't laugh at. It was
Yeah,
really well
that won
written.
so many Emmys.
Yeah.
And the Jeffersons, that was a spinoff. That was a successful spinoff.
Oh, yeah. Well,
Really?
would Friends count? Because technically one of their characters came from Mad About You.
Yeah.
You are
But-
correct, Phoebe. No, it's
Yeah,
Phoebe's
well, her sister.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought that was like the coolest little crossover thing that they like did a little nod to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. There's not many shows that has spin-off that's quite successful.
hmm
Well, over here we had Man About the House, and we had the Ropers. I think you guys had Three's Company, which is your version of Man About the House.
Okay.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. So you copied us, basically. You took our
Well, of
concept.
course. We rip off everything from England.
Well, not everything.
Even our country we ripped off.
No, not
There's-
everything.
So
I've
Ian,
noticed that there's one show they haven't ripped off, which is the that one with the two British ladies who just sit around and drink.
Oh, absolutely fabulous.
Absolutely
Oh,
fabulous.
yes. I love that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so British and so crass. I don't think it could ever be remade over
Oh.
here.
No, America wouldn't work. What were you going to say, Xevious, to Finn?
I was going to ask. Actually, I was going to ask Ian if he likes to watch Corey.
Coronation Street. No, I don't like watching soap operas, and Coronation Street is one of the longest soap operas in the entire world, and it's okay. I've watched a couple of episodes, but
Okay.
I don't think much of it, to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
It's all very much of a muchness, if you know what I mean.
Sure. It's just funny. I've got a bunch of one of my best friends, British Army guys, and they all like to watch Corey and then go for beers and talk about it. It's hilarious.
Yeah, well, I mean, Corrie's very popular in England. Has
Yeah.
been popular for more
50.
than 50 years. Yeah, EastEnders is trailing behind it. So Coronation Street is a British institution, I guess, just like Doctor Who. So
Yeah,
you
exactly.
know, yeah, crazy, right?
I just think it's funny that I know a bunch of pretty hard men who like to get together and talk about soap operas once a week.
Yeah.
Well, what's his name? Kevin Hart visited the set of Coronation Street.
No way.
He was on Graham Norton. He was talking about, and they showed pictures of him behind the bar pulling pints and stuff like that. So he said he was the only black man there. Coronation Street, I guess, is getting known in the States. I guess, but it's just like Doctor Who. It's been over 50 years it's been going for. So we're talking about black and white TV when it started.
Yeah, totally.
There you go.
That's cool.
Coronation Street. But I mean, you, as I said, you had Three's Company over there with what's his name, John Ritter. Is it John Ritter?
Yes, John Ritter.
Yeah, I used to watch that. I used to think it's quite funny. I used to thought that show
May he
was
rest
quite
in peace. Yeah.
Yeah, I really liked him as an actor. He was very, very much himself. He never really played anybody else but himself.
Mhm.
And it's a shame that he went too soon. He had a heart attack, didn't he? And he went
Yeah,
too
and I
soon.
think it happened on set, even on his show.
Yeah. What do you do when that happens? You can't do anything. It's like Father Ted. Father Ted was. I don't know if you ever got about Father Ted, the sitcom.
Oh
Father
yeah, I
Ted.
love Father Ted.
Yeah. Well, basically, it was riding high, and then the guy died, didn't he? The main guy who played Father Ted died, and they obviously couldn't.
Well, if I'm correct, though, he died after it ended.
No, because they were going to make another season, and he died, and then that put the stop on the next season, didn't it? Because it was so successful. It was wildly successful. People, wanted to see more. It's like Only Fools and Horses. When that naturally stopped, people wanted to see more, and they made a mistake of making another season, which was absolute shit. But you know, you have to know when to stop, I guess. You know.
Yeah, let's see. We'll see what it says. It says here, prior to location filming the third and final season, Morgan underwent a mandatory. Oh, he had high blood pressure. The day after recording the series, we see here it is. Oh, the day after recording the series' final episode, Morgan suffered a heart attack while hosting a dinner party. He died soon after.
Wow.
Wow.
That sucks.
Yeah,
it is hysterical. Now, it is so funny, though, because I watch it and I laugh and I laugh and I laugh. So I had my best friend, fellow Catholic, very serious Catholic in America. Okay, so she didn't get it because she didn't have the Irish thing going. So I'm like, you've got to watch this. This is the best show ever. And she was like looking at me in horror. She was like, how could you think this was in any way funny? This is blasphemous. This is but it's not when it's Irish.
Yeah, but you know,
they're sitting there saying F-bombs. They're, it's terrible.
It's funny because when you look at the difference between American shows similar, like for instance, you've got Father Ted, and then you've got I can't remember the show had the guy from Happy Days. He played a detective and he was a priest. What was that show called?
Father Dowling Mysteries.
That's it. Yeah. Look at the difference between that and
exactly. If they tried to do an American version of Father Ted, it would be the exact same thing.
Yeah,
they'd run him out on a rail. It's like, yeah. So,
it's to do with the culture because, as I said, if you look at British humor very carefully, British humor likes to dwell in the depressing sort of failure type characters. They like to have their characters as complete failures, and there's no really redeeming features about them at all. They're what you see is what you get. But with American sitcoms, they like to add the niceness in someone, especially if someone's not so good, if you know what I mean. Because they Americans are more hopeful than British people. British people are kind of, you know what I mean, a bit more. A bit more depressing, a bit more flat, if you know.
Well, we had Archie Bunker.
Yeah, but that was based on a British show. That was based on Death to Us Part.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know.
Show called The Death to Us Part. It was based on that, and we had I can't remember that character's name. It wasn't called Archie Bunker. It was called someone else. But it's the same thing. It's based on a British show. That one.
That is hilarious.
Okay, guess we can't have anything then. That's not.
No, I'm just saying that. I'm just pointing out the difference between the American culture and the British culture. The British culture, they're very cold, and the Americans like to think of, there's good in everything. But if you look at the British sitcoms very carefully, especially the old ones, they celebrate the downfall of people, and they see humor in that. So,
their humor is very self-deprecating in a way. I guess because the American humor is outward in a way. It's like it's based off of like what is happening around the characters or something, and then they have their responses, and then the British ones it's like, oh, look at that dope, like The Office, I guess. It's like
there's no redeeming feature of David Brent. David Brent's an idiot all the way through, and he thinks he knows more than everybody else. And there's that scene in it right at the end when he gets fired and he starts begging for his job, and it just goes to show how pathetic he is. But it's like the American one would make him more endearing, like Michael Scott, and the British is like, no, he's just an a-hole. Like, people like this exist. Isn't this painful? So that's the British humor. British humor has changed since then, though. But they celebrate the embarrassment in humor. There's a huge difference between the Americans and the British. I mean, look at Fawlty Towers. I mean, the guy, the main guy, he's really selfish, isn't he? I mean, he'll do anything to get what he wants, and pretend that he's not doing it, So Basil Fawlty, he's just horrible, John, he'll get out of his way. Sorry, John Cleese. Yeah, sorry.
That's the best show. I haven't seen that in ages, but it's so fun. If you guys haven't seen it. Yeah. So, but as I said, if the Americans made a version of that, he wouldn't be so
crass like Basil Fawlty, I guess. But
Yep.
there's some redeeming feature about him, you know. Even when they did it with House, House
Oh,
is a
dude,
jerk, right?
You just went right where I was going. Okay, I was going to say Blackadder.
Yeah, Blackadder. Yeah, same thing with Blackadder. Look at Blackadder. He has no redeeming features whatsoever. All he's paying attention to is what he can get out of every situation, you know. And it's funny.
Yeah. Oh, Rascally Rabbit. He said, "You think Canadians are too nice? Try cutting one of us off in traffic." So there you go. Yeah, well, House is a good example of a terrible person who really didn't have any redeeming qualities. Every time someone thought he was a good guy, he just had to prove he wasn't.
Who's that?
House from the TV show.
No, that's not true. Because House, I've watched every episode of House. I'm a huge fan of House. Yep. And you can see in his eyes that House cares. You cannot avoid it when he's doing stuff and he's making people feel bad, whatever. 9 times out of 10 is for a reason that he does it, and for a good reason. And that's the difference. If it look at Cracker, that was played by Robbie Coltrane, and look at House. Cracker has no redeeming features. He's a horrible person, but yet he's intelligent and he's a fucking great psychologist. And the police needed him. He's a fat, overweight, chain smoking, burger eating guy that has no redeeming features. Yet the women find him attractive, in the show. And he's a horrible person. And then you got House, who's a jerk, but he does go out of his way to save lives. And then when something happens, you can see in his eyes that he cares. So he's not like that, in my opinion. Just my opinion.
Plus, he's handsome. He's funny. He's got a really cool voice.
Yeah.
Goes a long way.
And also he's very much into telling the truth and being blunt and brutal about the truth.
Yep.
Everybody lies. That's his mind, right?
I have to interject because I just found out the show that I've always tried to pimp, the one with Hugh Laurie from the 90s. It's like a sitcom, and it's called 40 something. They have the entire series on YouTube you can watch.
What's
you
it
should
called?
totally. It's called 40 something, all one word.
Oh,
and Benedict Cumberbatch is even in it before he was popular.
Yep.
He is oh god, it's such a great show. It's totally worth watching it. He basically plays a 40-something-year-old who has a midlife crisis and starts to hear people's thoughts, and he doesn't know if he's going crazy or if he can hear their thoughts. And his family is super weird. And he has like one son who is constantly trying to get attention by doing like really insane things. And then the normal kid is played by Benedict Cumberbatch.
Do you know there's a show in England called The Fall and Rise of Reginald Perrin. Okay, and it starred God, what's his name? Leonard Rossiter. I don't know if you know who Leonard Rossiter is. And that is a genius show as well, a genius sitcom. And it's very, very, very clever. If you ever get a chance,
what was it called?
That. The Fall and Rise of Reginald Perrin.
Oh, okay, that is such a British name. Oh my god.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's very quirky and very quintessential British. And that won loads of awards as well. So if you ever get a chance to check that out, you probably won't like it as being Americans.
No, I love British stuff. I mean, well, I'll tell you, one of my favorite British shows is The Life on Mars. I thought that was amazing.
Yeah, it is. It is good, but they didn't know how to end it. They really didn't know how to end it. It was a stupid ending to a really great show.
I actually thought it had a really good ending.
What, like he kills himself again so he can go back to the 70s?
Hey, don't spoil anything. I still haven't seen it.
Whatever Ian said, he lied.
I only ever watched up to like the 5th episode, I think, or 6th, and somehow to this day had never been spoiled for Life on Mars, for the British one, or for the American one. Yeah, I know.
The American one's rubbish.
I never, and I hadn't been spoiled for the sequel to Life on Mars, the Ashes to Ashes Island. So keep your mouth shut, sir.
That sucked. Ashes to Ashes sucks.
I like Ashes.
See, I think I'll probably be in Teresa's boat because I've heard a lot of people that I know also really liked the British one and said very nice things about Ashes to Ashes.
Yeah, Ashes to Ashes is rubbish.
I can't really look into it because if I do, I'll have an idea of what might happen to the first series. So I can't.
Yeah, girl, you've got to finish it. It's amazing. Don't listen to Ian. It's fantastic.
I know. And when I was watching it, and I think it was just getting really intense. You know,
oh, yeah,
like there's some shows like, oh my god, Dexter. I ended up quitting it not because I disliked it. Like I really liked it, but by the end of season 4. I was so stressed out because of the writing, but it was good writing, and that's because of it. Like I'm frustrated, and I have to go back and watch the rest of the show because I loved the writing, but it drove me away.
No, right. I love
well,
Dexter.
I'll tell you, I've started watching Dexter, and I'm loving it.
Yeah, it's great. Absolutely terrific. Terrific writing. Great performances.
I'm still in first season. I'm like on the 6th episode or something.
That's my favorite. Oh my god! I hope you're not spoiled for anything because the first season's my favorite season.
It is.
Not really. I mean, but I'm also one of those that it's like, if I get spoiled, I mean, it's my fault because dang it, it's been like how many years. I do know that a lot of people don't like the way it ends.
Oh,
I do know a lot of people that do like the way it ends. So.
I spoiled it. Never mind.
Don't say anything. No. It's don't say a word, Ian. You are just covered in spoilers today.
Yeah, I mean, no, but I mean, I will say this. I'm not one of those. I won't mind because if I wanted to avoid spoilers on a show that's been season finale with 8 years ago, I wouldn't be on the internet. You know, that'd be my fault.
That's true.
And I don't think it'll change the enjoyment that I would have from watching the show at all. Because, well, I just think that the concept of it is so fascinating that, you know, he kills people that have it coming.
Yeah, he does.
And people that usually the law can't touch because they'll get off on technicalities or, you know, drunk drivers or people that never get caught. But I also like the way that he really is like a serial killer in that he's like dead inside and has no emotion and
all the characters that surround him, they're really good, like Angel and his sister, and you know, and all the characters, they're really interesting. Dokes is really interesting as well. So it's not only him. Mother,
the one who hates his guts. Yeah, and I love it. He's like, why is he the only one that actually knows me? Because you know, he's always like, you creeper or you stupid or you know, it's like no one else gets it. That I'm a terrible person except for him.
I think they do such a good job on the show too of like having his character be that stereotype because like you know you always hear like when some crazy guy gets arrested that his neighbors are like he seemed like such a nice guy, you know. It's like on the surface level Dexter does everything he needs to do and everybody around him accepts him and thinks he's a nice guy, but Dokes is just like smart enough to be like, you know, I see through that because it's just like a fakeade, but everybody else is so busy with their own crazy lives. I think that they just never notice it. Like, if you think about it, like even Deborah is like so focused on her own stuff that she would never notice what Dexter's doing.
Well, and also the fact that he was trained that I've got to do the things I'm expected to do, and he does them, and he does them just bland enough so he doesn't stand out. Because like there was a really good thing where there's a flashback where they're like taking a family picture and they're all like smile, and Dexter wasn't smiling, and the dad's like, why aren't you smiling? And he said, because I'm not happy. Why should I smile if I'm not happy? And the dad told him that's what's expected, so smile. And you've got to learn these behaviors. And then when like he went to the prom or whatever, it was the same thing. At first he didn't get that the girl wanted him to ask her out. And the dad was like, you need to ask her out And then when you're at the prom, you need to dance with her. You need to give her a corsage. In other words, do all the basic things that you're just expected to do.
But you
And
know,
then
you know what
won't
gets
stand out.
me about Dexter is he's a better detective than anyone in that office. His
Well,
detective skills are
Takes
amazing.
one to know one.
Yeah.
I know. It makes you wonder about maybe other people in his profession out there who may or may not be doing other extracurricular stuff. Because, I mean, if you have the skill and the means, I mean, Jack the Ripper might have been a doctor, right? So,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I'll tell you what. Think about it. Every now and then, isn't it true that you'll see a story where cop, kills his wife, or cop does this, or living a life of crime or something. It's like, well, look at the serial killer. I mean, the BTK, out of all the serial killers, I think he is the one that is probably the most disturbing for so many people, because he really was everything that's normal.
Yeah.
He was a Boy Scout leader. He was a church leader. He did everything right, except killing everybody. Because like some of the other ones, the famous ones, they were weirdos. They were all sorts of stuff.
But you know what's interesting about this is that, when somebody's accused of something and then you look at them again and you look at their face and you go, oh yeah, now I see it. Like, for instance, Harvey Weinstein. Before all this stuff happened, you look at Harvey Weinstein, he's an old man. Then when all these things start happening, you look at his face and go, now I can see it. He's definitely a creep, yeah. Isn't that weird? Don't you think that's weird? How you don't see it originally?
It's kind of like a Rorschach test. It's not so much that his face changes. It's just like somebody, you look at it and see a butterfly, and then someone's like, hey, don't you see the hourglass? And they're like, oh.
Wow, that was awesome.
Girl, you are
say that again.
Roboting like a wild thing.
You went robotic. Say it again.
Oh no, I'm sorry.
Say it again.
Okay. So am I still sounding like a robot?
A little bit.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
You're still roboting.
Oh, sorry.
You're okay now.
Okay. Are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay. So I was saying it's kind of like a Rorschach test. Did you, so like you could look at the guy and see a butterfly the whole time. And then someone will be like, no, can't you see the hourglass? And then you'll see, right there. And so you're just looking at different details, but it's still the same thing,
Yeah. It's like George Michael. It's like when he was in Wham, everybody's like, George Michael, and all the girls used to fancy him and stuff like that. And you say, oh, he's such a lucky guy. Then you find out he's gay. And then when you look back at some of the videos, you think, how could you have not seen it? Do you know what I mean? You can see the stuff he's wearing. How could you have not seen it? Things like that. It's really weird. Really weird.
Oh, dude, my gay friends knew from day one.
Oh, did they? Oh, right,
totally.
okay.
100%.
I did not know at all. I did not know. I was like, that guy's so lucky he can get any girl he wants, and then suddenly he's gay. It's like, whoa, how'd that happen? But, it's really weird how you can't see these things until something happens in it. So, just saying, weird. But has Harvey Weinstein been put in jail now? Is he in jail? Does anybody know?
He's been convicted, hasn't he?
I don't know, Teresa. Actually, has he? I haven't seen anything for about a month.
He was convicted. I don't know if he's anywhere, because I know he was having some heart complications around the same time. And I know now they're being really particular in certain places about jails and things because of, so I doubt that he's actually arrested or anything yet.
Well, no, he's
probably
he got 23 years in prison.
Wow.
Well, I doubt that he's in prison. I'm saying I think he's probably at home.
Yeah.
Well, you get convicted and
Well, it's that coronavirus, isn't it, kind of thing? So he's probably at home.
Yeah. Yeah, well, there's some jails and stuff they're letting people out, and I've heard that the infection rate in the prisons across the United States are like 90%.
Wow.
So, like, I would be remiss to be sent to one of those right now.
Yeah. But usually, you know, oh, you committed rape, but oh well, you just don't have to go to jail. It's like what?
But when Bill Cosby got you know, I was shocked because it's Bill Cosby, man. I couldn't believe he did all that stuff. He deserves where he's going, of course, but you know, I just can't believe that someone, you know, everybody loved Bill when he was doing, you know, the Cosby Show and stuff like that. And I thought he was a very funny comedian, and I was shocked to realize that he was like that. You know, isn't that shocking?
But like, just like Dexter or whoever else, you know, he knew how to do the right things to get away with it. You know,
I guess.
Everybody looks at him and thinks he's a great guy, and so they wouldn't believe initially anybody who came forward and said anything about him. You know, if you help like 9 out of 10 people cross the road and you're mean to the last one, and then they tell the other people that you were a jerk, those people won't believe them. There's like, it's so much a percentage thing, and it's bizarre how it works.
Yeah. Well, and also consider, well, in the case of Harvey Weinstein, what makes that so insidious is people knew him. It wasn't like a situation where, oh, people won't believe me, whatever. It's like everybody knew about it.
So hey, let's talk Star Wars for a minute, as I like to do.
Going in.
Who was hired to? I forget exactly which project she's put in charge of. But she worked for Weinstein for 6 or 7 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was his PA for a year.
Yeah.
So what's going on with that? You know?
Well,
yeah, she thinks.
As far as I know, that everything that I've read so far, they're fighting. Was it Bob Iger and Kathleen Kennedy? Both hate each other now, apparently. You know what? I get the strange feeling that Bob Iger's probably slept with Kathleen Kennedy, and that's what she's got on him. Because also another thing that I believe that's happened as well is Feige has slept with what's her name, Captain Marvel girl. I reckon that's what's happened as well, and that's why he's given her a lot of leeway. You know, it does happen, and I was thinking about it a couple of days ago. I was thinking, how come they have so much power? And then it suddenly occurred to me that maybe sex was involved in both situations.
Why would you give me that image? Now I see Happy Hogan and Captain Marvel making out, and it's not helping. Who's top, who's bottom?
I don't know. It just seemed to make sense to me yesterday when I was thinking about it. I was thinking, how can Bob Iger, who's in charge of Disney, why doesn't he just fire her? You know, and there's all this talk about, the LGBT community will jump on him if he fires him. But why would you care if you're in charge of a huge company like that? You just fire her. But why isn't he firing her? That's the question.
Yeah.
Well, I
honestly,
I was just going to say, I still say with all of it is they don't see a reason to fire her. We see all the bad she's done. They see dollar signs.
No. That's not possible. They definitely know that she screwed up the Star Wars saga. I think
but they don't care. They don't care that she screwed up the Star Wars saga.
No, it's not that. A lot of people have been saying it's because of the fact that if he fires her, then he'll just get besieged by a lot of LGBT community and people on Twitter and stuff like that, and they'll be all in the news and all that. I don't believe that. I think she's got something on him, and maybe it's that she slept with him. I don't know, but if I was Bob Iger and I was in charge, I would have fired her ass a long time ago. You have every justification to fire her because she didn't inform them that she was going to put that woman, that new Harvey Weinstein, in charge, and she didn't inform them that this new feminine Star Wars thing. She didn't tell, and Disney's in charge.
Well,
right.
I mean,
let's be fair though. Do we know that she didn't?
That's what I'm saying. I don't know. I'm just assuming.
Well, you're assuming. Yeah. I mean, I'm just saying is what has she really done that's worth being fired over from their point of view?
Yeah, from their point of view, she has literally destroyed the Star Wars saga, because the money that the last film made is no way justified the amount of money they spent on it. And it's the same thing with the second one as well. So it dipped. So they haven't got their money back on the second one, nor the last one, as far as I know. Yeah. Unless somebody can correct me on that. So that's good justification, because like male producers get fired for less than that in Hollywood. And she's literally taken a huge dump on one of the biggest franchises in the world and made it not work. So he has every justification to fire her, you know? So
well, here's the sad thing though. At this point, he'd have to fire her and all of the ladies that she's hired in his the time that they've not want, like, you know, in their time where they should have fired her. She hired too many ladies. That's what I'm saying. It's like she's got her power glove now.
Yeah, what's it got to do with anything? If he could just fire her, it's got enough to. If you're in charge of a company, a multi-billion company, you're in charge. So you know you could fire anyone, and you don't. I mean, why doesn't he just fire her? That's the question. That answer doesn't make any sense.
It could be the devil, you know, because if you think about it, like if you have this whole writing crew that she has hired and you get rid of her and you replace her with another lady, obviously, that you want, you know, to have a power role, you can't guarantee that she will be any better, you know, like she might have the exact same kind of mindset.
That's silly. Of course you can, because if you're going to replace her, you will hire someone and you'd interview them and you'll see where they're coming from. And if they try to divert from what they say, then basically you have to pull them up on it and then warn them. You know, that's what I'm saying. That's what bosses do.
That's what happens in the real world. We're talking Hollywood where it's not.
Right. I'm just imagining like you hire a new person, but you still have this legion of people with very specific ideas. And I think that it would cause more conflict. If you keep Kathleen Kennedy, they might have the idea that they can somehow rein her in still, you know, because she has.
Makes no sense.
If they could control her, she could control the ladies.
No. If I was Bob Iger, first of all, I'd fire Kathleen Kennedy. Second of all, I would gather the people that are involved in Lucasfilm, because Disney owns Lucasfilm, and put them to sit down and say, look, you know, this stupid agenda has gone too far. Okay, we want to make it equal for women, but what we don't want to do is swamp the whole of Star Wars with the feminine agenda. We want to make it equal for people of color and for different for male and female, and we would focus on that. If you're not focusing on that, then I'm sorry, you're going to have to go. That and that's a fair thing to say. It's not like he's going to say, right, we're going to get rid of all the women. You know what I mean? Here's the agenda. Stick to it. Make sure there's a contract about it.
You know how it'll look though immediately. They have to consider that media will immediately
I don't know what you're saying. I don't know what you're saying.
Am I breaking up again?
Yeah, you're breaking up again. Sorry, say that again.
Oh man. Am I still roboting?
No, you're
right. No, you're good.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I think I completely lost what I was saying anyways.
Well, I'm just curious, Xevious, what's your take on it? I'm just curious because, you know, I have my opinions, but.
Ooh, on Kennedy or on what's this?
Well, yeah, I mean, my thing is that they're not firing her because they don't see a reason to fire her. From our point of view, there's a reason to fire her, but from their point of view, objectively speaking, why should they fire her?
They see it.
Totally. Yeah, I pick up what
coming on them.
I'm asking Xevious. Xevious.
So yeah, what Teresa said a few minutes ago, I picked up on that when you said to Ian that when you say we, you're speaking to the Phantom Menace, to people who are anti-progressive or whatever the heck we are called. We want good movies, that's all. But you're right, because I believe it's possible that Disney doesn't realize the mess they have. They really might actually think that they're doing well, because Solo was a major loss at the box office, but other than that, all of them have been profitable. Not where they should be, But they are making money. They might think everything is okay. I really think that's possible.
Yeah.
Yeah. From their point of view, there's no reason to change.
That's right. Like, if I'm not mistaken, I think Disney Corporation's revenue is, I believe, movies and comic books put together are about 11% of their worries combined.
Yeah.
So it's not making or breaking them. Now, when they spend $500 million, give or take, to make The Rise of Skywalker, and then they make, what was it, 1 point, it went a little over $1 billion, didn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So on their balance sheet, they're like, hey, we made $500 million. We're cool.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah.
Plus, they're happy to be putting out there. Their message is getting out there. It's very progressive. And it looks like they're going to charge ahead with this new, there's a female-focused series.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen the new comic book announcements. We've seen the new, 4 or 5 new books coming out in just 2 months. And it's all super agenda-driven. So, yeah, I don't think they're even aware of it necessarily.
Yeah. There's no reason for from their point of view. And also consider the fact that they just have that really big deal where they got the rights to air Hamilton July 3rd.
Yeah.
I got to admit, I'm excited like you wouldn't believe it. And can you imagine all the people that are going to subscribe or tune in to that and then buy the DVD and the down stream? So that's the other thing, is that they're making money out the wazoo in so many different areas. And so if they look at their ledger and, like you said, oh, hey, we profited $500 million. That's good to them. They don't care if they quote unquote ruined the franchise because they don't see it that way.
Yep. I think that's true. You know what? I don't want to. I think I disagree with you, Ian, on that one. I think they think it's probably pretty awesome. And all of the shareholders are going to look at they'll look at their balance sheet. They're not Star Wars fans. They're just rich people. Mm-hmm. And they'd say, this property made $527 million. So cool. And they'd go on to the next thing. They don't care if they ruin Star Wars. Mm-hmm. Now, culturally, I think it's the worst thing ever that this is happening. And they're going to go ahead and do it with James Bond. And they're going to ruin that. And they've done it to Star Trek. And I think that's not even fixable, because it's now been, 11 or 12 years since they brought in Bad Robot with J.J. Abrams. Mm-hmm. But when we look back on this stuff in 10 years, it's going to be, Star Wars was a movie. And, certainly, you go ahead, Finn.
No, finish. That's okay.
I was going to say, for me, Transformers was not totally my thing, but, I've kind of dug it for 40 years. And they took the name, they took the IP, they made those movies, which are all really terrible, and they've made a bunch of money, but they keep getting worse, and they're going to stop sooner or later. But I don't have good memories about Transformers anymore. I just think shitty Michael Bay movies now. And future kids, my kids even, don't care. It's not going to be a beloved thing. And neither is neither is Star Wars, neither is Star Trek.
Well, here's the problem for that. They're on the top, basically, and they're, really high up, and they're enjoying all their money, and they're not looking down and seeing that the structure is kind of crumbling and slowly taking apart the quality of it, and that their tower will at some point crumble, but they're not noticing the micro cracks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't see how they cannot see what's going on. It's impossible for them not to see what's going on. That's the reason why Bob Iger's angry, according to the reports. And there's, for some unknown reason, there's nothing he can do about it.
Well, I think... Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I think a lot of it has to stem around the Mandalorian. And I really strongly believe that it's a contractual thing. Because I think they promised Feige. Oh, that's his name, right? Not Happy Hogan, right? Yeah. I'm pretty sure they just promised him the show, that they gave him the world as a sandbox, basically, and gave him to play initially. And I think that somehow Kathleen Kennedy is trying to worm her way in, and he's putting up a fight, and Disney is trying to put up a fight for him because he is a power player for them because of Marvel, and they don't want to piss him off. And Mandalorian is their biggest baby right now. They need to take care of it. but they have Kathleen Kennedy like clinging on like some sort of like, like ivy or fungus or mold or something, and they're like trying to scrape her off the Mandalorian. I know it's a lovely image, right?
Yeah, but if that's the case, if that's true, then they've got to recognize what's going on. That's why I say, how could they not recognize what's going on? If they think that Mandalorian is the jewel in their crown now, of course they realize what's going on.
But they contractually tied their hands by renewing her contract. Like, for whatever reason, they made that decision, and now they're suffering. It's like, how did you not see that coming? Like, why did they initially sign again?
And
like, I think it goes back to your theory, but now because of it, it's like, what can they possibly do if she is trying to leverage her way into the Mandalorian?
But that's why
I'm going to be the jerk here.
Sure.
Where is this coming from? How do you know she's trying to wedge her way into the Mandalorian?
Well, this is all speculation on the rumors that have been going around. It's been rumored that there is a civil war, so to speak. It's been I think they had it on the Bounding into Comics.
Yeah, and I guess what I'm just trying to say is only because I'm gotten a little bit cynical, because I used to believe those rumors. Then when I started to think about it, if that's our only source, is that true or is that wishful thinking on our part?
Well,
this is all speculation.
Yeah, but
that's what I'm saying. So it's not a fact. So
let's put it this way: Doomcock was right when he was talking about Star Wars before the last Star Wars film before it even came out. He got every point right. So his contacts are working within Lucasfilm, and the same thing with Gary. Gary got every point right when it came to Doctor Who. So these people, they wouldn't say anything unless they're, unless it comes from a generally good source.
But you see, understand that those leaks that they were all talking about, we all saw the same ones. They were on 4chan.
Yep.
Yeah.
Not the Doctor Who ones though. Gary had an insider, didn't he? Gary had an insider.
Perhaps, but I'm just saying, as far as Star Wars goes.
All right.
I'm just saying. I'm trying to be objective here. In that, if we're gonna have a thesis, we have to have a fact to back it up. And I'm just telling you that what we know as fact, it really does not follow up with these rumors. Like I said, if it were true, if all of those things were true, yes, that would mean something, and yes, it wouldn't make sense. But that. Because remember, we were all positive they were going to fire her. And instead, they renewed her contract. And everyone's like, how could that have happened? And then we went back and looked at our sources for that. And it was like, wait a second. We were going on the word of somebody who claimed he had inside information. And then we let wishful thinking go ahead.
But you know what? Who cares now? It's dead.
Oh yeah, definitely. Who cares? I'm just. I don't mean to pour water on the parade, but I'm just saying is that, hey, if we have to be honest, honest, but objective. I told you I'm a historian, and when I look at sources, it's like, okay, is this a reliable source? And now, does Bob Iger really not like her? Okay, come out and say it, Bob Iger.
Yeah, he's not going to say it, though, is he?
He's not going to say it, of course. And so-called insiders. And do we see any evidence that she's out of favor? No, we see her continuing on with her female-led thing. We saw her get her contract renewed. So objectively speaking, the verdict has to be they're fine with her.
Yeah, it's a shame.
Yeah,
definitely.
I think that probably is the case. I think everybody's fine. Their balance sheet is okay.
Yeah, they're cool. It's just us that are thinking.
Well, I think it's just us that we need to walk away from it. As I keep saying to everyone that I know that's into Doctor Who, I mean, this is just I keep saying, look, I am not going to pay any attention to anything now linked to Doctor Who. And same thing with Star Wars. I'm not going to pay any attention to Star Wars. The next Star Wars film that comes out, I'm not interested. I'm not going to spend my money on something that's been destroyed.
Oh, yeah. Well, I don't think there's going to be another Star Wars movie, to be honest. Everything we're hearing from Star Wars is just their Disney Plus thing. So they realize that they could make a lot more money by doing these TV shows on Disney Plus. and make a lot of money with Baby Yodas and call it a day. So
Well,
we're going to see
not as
stuff on
much
TV.
money as if they released a movie, though.
Well, no,
Here-
they're not
here-
going to. I mean, have you
Mm.
heard that them? When are they releasing a movie?
Don't know.
Exactly. All
don't
we're
care.
hearing are their TV shows now.
Yeah.
They've given
Well,
up
and
on
I heard
movies.
that
Yeah.
they're talking about socially distancing themselves on
Mm.
sets when they return for filming and stuff, which would also extremely limit what they can actually record.
Mm.
I mean, because you wouldn't be able to do fight scenes or have like really close, intimate scenes, and so it's like, how long is that going to? But
You'd have to have a
I-
special effect when they're fighting. Create a
Oh,
3D
God,
person. Yeah.
have you seen those behind the scenes of the Flash? I think as Heel versus Babyface made fun of one where it shows like Barry like swinging his arms around to make a tornado, but without effects, it just looks so stupid. And then like they put it next to like, you know, the finished one, and it's like, oh yeah, that looks really awesome. But yeah, I like the more realistic one.
Oh, dude, my buddy Nick has directed a bunch of episodes of The Flash, so I've seen that stuff.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Which do you know which episodes or?
I could look it up, but yeah, I'll do that as we talk. I'll look and see.
Oh yeah, I'm
he
just curious.
He shot the pilot for Arrow. That sort of got him.
Oh, I like that. That was such a God. The Arrow was so good.
The first season, yeah, it was pretty.
Yeah,
bad.
I know. Emphasis on past tense, and not because the show is still going, isn't it? Or did it end?
No, it's finished. I think it's finished. Arrow's finished, isn't it? I'm assuming.
Could you did any of you watch it or care?
What's that?
About it? Arrow.
I watched the first 4 seasons of Arrow and I really liked it, and then it started getting really silly. And then I loved the first, I think 3 seasons or 4 seasons of The Flash, and then it became woke and I stopped watching it. I liked Supergirl up to a point when suddenly it just changed into something that was completely unrecognizable. So all these shows were really good until it started changing into something that, because the Arrow was it wasn't realistic, but it wasn't too comic bookish either. Arrow was very violent. It was, you know, very, very raw, and I liked that tone. And then suddenly it changed to being stupid comic book. You know, so
well, it was trying to play off the popularity of the Flash, I think, and it switched its voice. It's like, it was weird because it's like obviously the Arrow starts first, and then you can almost kind of see it because then, you know, you got Flash started in the season 3 of Arrow, right? Was when it aired.
Yeah.
And so if you think about it, by season 2, that would be season 4 of the Arrow, they start realizing how popular the Flash is, and then they're probably like, let's start bringing in more sidekicks and more like ensemble stuff. And then that's kind of how you could see the Arrow starts changing too. And they're like, okay, let's bring in like these like random sidekicks. I don't even know. I stopped watching. There's like a punk kid, and there's like some other chick who isn't the Black Canary or the White Canary. She's just like some other canary. I'm like, oh god.
Yeah, it's just that they went a bit mental. I mean, it just changed. They just changed the whole landscape of the Arrow, and I just didn't like it, so I just stopped watching. That's the thing with me. If they change something, there's no point, because you suddenly realize that you're not in. You know, it's not yours anymore. So if it's not yours anymore, just let them have it. You know, and that's what I've done with even Star Wars. You know, I remember seeing the last Star Wars film, sitting in the cinema, being so disappointed, and then walked out and thought, well, that's that then, isn't it? You know, that's that. You know, what's the point now? Might as well just move on and try and find something else to be crazy about. Although they haven't retconned or woke Red Dwarf. Red Dwarf is still going strong, and it still hasn't suffered from any woke or feminine agenda or anything. I don't know if you guys know Red Dwarf.
Oh yeah.
Oh, really? I've never seen it.
Red Dwarf is it was started off in the BBC. It's kind of like Doctor Who, but it's a sitcom, a sci-fi sitcom. It's been running for years. I think it's more than 12 years, 14 years now. and they're now on another channel, so BBC can't touch it anymore. So BBC can't woke it. So and also it started off with 2 black people and 2 white people in it. So the main star is black. So you know what I mean. So even before this woke stuff started, you know, they literally had 2 black leads. So
Cool.
back when they probably cast people for their acting and didn't actually care, and it happened to be that way. God, I miss that.
Yeah, so there you go. So I mean, at least that's one show that hasn't been touched by all this craziness in the world. You know, as I was saying to Teresa, one day you're going to look at the Bible, Teresa, and you're going to realize that Jesus was crucified because his sister convinced him. So there you go.
Matthew 16, the gates of hell will not prevail against the church. We got the keys, bitches. You are Peter, and upon this rock I will build my church. Sucks to be everybody else.
Yeah. Upon this rock I'll build
not
my
politically
church.
correct, is it?
I'm pretty sure you were quoting verbatim, right?
It was Peter's sister. Yes, we recognize that fact now. Peter's sister.
No, it wasn't. No. I actually have used that quote, gates of hell will not prevail. Because remember how everybody, I can do this because it's my channel. Okay, everybody in March, the Holy Father, because some idiots said that we should have women deacons and, no more celibacy as the norm, always forgetting that, yes, we have married priests. My priest is married with 5 kids. And then they're like, he's got to change everything because they just need to do that. And then the Holy Father kind of comes out and all the liberals are like, yeah, the Pope, we love this dude. He's awesome. He's so progressive. And he writes a letter. It's like, nah, there's not going to be a change. And yes, we were all gates of hell, bitches. Never. Just saying.
Yeah.
Just saying. That's my theology lesson for the day. But you see, I'm a fun catechism teacher.
I want you to be my teacher.
I want to be your teacher. Yeah. I mean, to be fair, I know I could never use curse words, but I used to play all sorts of games like Trump that Saint and all that kind of stuff, and it's fun. Like, okay, just really quickly, Ian, what kind? You were the one that was raised Catholic. I wasn't raised Catholic. That's why I know everything. Okay, but okay, if we're gonna say Trump that Saint, which saint trumps? Saint Cecilia, Saint Gregory the Great. Which saint trumps?
I would not know. I'd probably go for the geezer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Saint Cecilia trumps Saint Gregory the Great because, well, Saint Gregory the Great was a musician, and that's where we get Gregorian chant. Saint Cecilia is the patron saint of music, while Saint Gregory the Great is a saint for something else. So she trumps him.
You do actually believe that about the saints, that the patron saint of what's the patron saint of policemen?
Oh, Saint Barbara, I think.
Yeah, because the cops in New York.
Well, okay. I'm telling you, it's a game you play. But do I believe it? No, I mean, there's a patron saint of
everything.
Everything. I mean, yeah. Is it like no, yes and no. It's not like they're up in heaven and Jesus is like, okay, you're gonna be the patron saint of cancer. Or you're going to be the patron saint. You know that we have one, by the way, a theater. You're going to be the patron saint of music.
You never know.
Well, you know what? Jesus is a very practical dude. No, but it's like custom is. Saint George is the patron saint of police officers. There you go. Yeah. There you go. And the patron saint of lost causes is Saint Jude. But I'm just saying, it's like that's how you trump them. Because some kids might want to say, well, but Pope Gregory the Great was a pope and she was a layperson, a virgin. And it's like, no, but we're talking about and then the kids would have to argue why Saint Gregory. It's like, well, he did Gregorian chant, he did this, he was a theologian. Yeah, it's like, yeah, but she's a patron. and then you have to talk about Saint Cecilia. So those are kind of cool things I do. That's what I'm trying to say. So the kids never fall asleep in catechism class when I have it.
You know more than me about it, and I was born a Catholic. You know,
I told you, of course, you don't know anything because you were born a Catholic.
Yeah.
I only know things on convert. Yeah, because I mean, it's atrocious, the education. The Catholic education's atrocious. It's like, dang it, if you're gonna have to get up and go to mass, sit through all that, you may as well know why.
Hey, did you ever?
Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, speaking of like studying religion and history and stuff, did you ever happen to watch the show Wonder Falls on Fox? It was a really short-lived series that got canceled because, Fox. But there was a character on it that was played by Lee Pace before he was popular. You should go back and watch it. And he played a atheist theologist. And so like he would go at like different angles, like really uniquely on the show. And he ends up going through a religious midlife crisis. So it's like the reversal of like questioning your religion, where he starts questioning the idea of religion. And I thought it was a really interesting character thing.
Oh, for sure. Well, as I always say, there's never an idea that cannot and should not be debated, because you have to use reason. And it's fun. The dragon in St. George, exactly, rascally rabbit. And it was, yes, he absolutely killed a real dragon. That's theology. No, it's not. It's myth.
Kill the wabbit.
It's not. Okay, we don't have to believe he killed a dragon. The same way St. Patrick did not drive out any friggin' snakes.
How could you lie to me?
I like it. Well, actually, I mean, I always tell people around St. Patrick's Day, and then they hate me. I'm like, yes, St. Patrick, actually, he was real. St. George, we're pretty sure, was a myth. But St. Patrick, yes, he left behind some writings, and he was the most boring person you've ever probably read. I mean, he wrote very good stuff, but all he wrote about was, I was such a terrible person. Woe is me, but God saved me. I mean, in other words, it wasn't a bunch of jolly, let's have some Guinness and stuff. And he tells his biography, but yeah, it's typically what you would expect. I was a sinner. And
what about modern saints? Do you believe in the modern saints like Saint Teresa? And because I think she's a saint now, isn't she?
Dude.
Yeah.
Teresa Martin. Where do you think I get my pen name from?
No, what do you think of that though? Do you think that's she deserves to be a saint? Or
wait, okay, which one now? You got to narrow it down. Are you talking about the little flower?
Mother Teresa.
Oh, Mother Teresa.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Well, she was named after the little flower. Is she saying? Well, yes. I mean, I do believe. The church has declared her so. That is definitely worthy of belief. And is she in heaven? Yeah, because that's all that a saint is. It's just someone in heaven. I mean, I have a good friend who lost her mother actually this morning. And do I believe she's with Jesus? Absolutely. Yeah. That's all that a saint means, is that they're in heaven. And the church has very strong reason to believe to declare so that person is in heaven.
All right. So can I ask you this question? Do you believe there's things that the Catholic Church or any religion knows, especially the core of the religion, knows that won't tell us? Things that are really important, but they won't tell us for some reason.
Cool question.
Wait. Say that again. Do you think there's something the church isn't telling us?
Yeah, so let's take the Catholic faith. Do you believe that the Catholic faith knows things, really important things to do with religion and the world, but they won't tell us? They're keeping it back from us because they think we can't handle it.
Kind of like those guys who spank their backs in that one movie with paintings with Tom Hanks.
Well, I was thinking more of something else. So, like for instance, there's I think it's been documented. There's a gospel from Mary Magdalene, but they refused to put it in the Bible.
The Apocrypha. Yeah, I mean, here's the thing about those apocryphal writings. The church hasn't kept them from us because we know about them.
What I'm saying is that's just an example, but maybe there's bigger things that they know, like earth-shattering things that they know that won't tell us.
Okay, well, this is where you got to, because we're talking about the Catholic Church, and I only usually generally do talk about the Catholic Church because I don't like it when people talk about my church who aren't Catholic. The Catholic Church, you remember, you've got to think that there's two parts of it. There's the human part and there's the divine part. The human part, that's all the institution stuff. You know, the Vatican, in many ways, the parts of the hierarchy, a lot of all that. That's the human part of the church. Then the divine part, which is, you know, the mystical body of Christ. Okay. So I think what you're talking about is the human part. You're not talking about the divine part.
No, I'm talking about the divine part.
Oh, no, absolutely not.
You think there's something that they know?
Nope.
You don't think so?
No, because first of all, then you'd have to believe in private revelation is public revelation, and that is not the case. Private revelation is only private revelation. Like, okay, let's just say the Pope himself, Pope Francis, gets a big old vision straight from God that says something really radical. And he could even say, hey, dudes, I just saw that. And then we as the faithful would go, well, that's really cute, Holy Father, but that's a private revelation, so no thank you.
No, people
public revelation is the only thing that we are obliged to believe.
So you don't think that they could know something earth-shattering and not tell us?
About God? No, not about God.
Yeah, well,
everything we know about God has been revealed.
No, okay, right. That's what I'm saying. You reckon there's something that hasn't been revealed to us for any reason, for a really good reason?
No.
You don't think so? Okay.
No, I know so.
Okay, well.
It's been public revelation. Because remember, it all ended with public revelation, which was the death of the last apostle, which is St. John. So if any shenanigans happened, it was after that. Okay? We're talking after, 90 AD. So is there something we don't know? No.
Okay, another question then. Do you think that the Pope is capable of lying to us?
Absolutely, he can lie to us anytime.
Well, then if it's possible for a human being, the Pope, even to lie to us, then it's possible for people in the Vatican to hold things earth-shattering away from us for any reason. They could lie to us, but it's like a white lie or whatever. It's a lie for a reason.
They could lie anytime they want, absolutely, but that doesn't change the Catholic faith.
I'm not. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm just asking the question. Do you think they could be holding something earth-shattering away from us? That's what I'm asking.
Could they
you
be?
say no. That's fine. That's
objectively speaking, could they be? Absolutely. Every single last one of them could be a bunch of nothing but dirty, crooked, rotten liars. Absolutely.
I wouldn't go that far, but yeah.
Well, no, yeah, they could. Yeah, but it wouldn't affect something about religion or about God, because that's not what their role is.
Yeah, well,
they're the human institution. The divine institution of the church is something.
You know what, right? You know more than me about my own religion.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I know
idea. I have no idea. All I did all my life is done exactly what my parents told me to do.
Yeah.
And try to believe the best I can. That's all I can do, really.
Yeah.
So.
No, absolutely. Yeah. And a lot of people do mistake that. They think that we believe that the Pope is perfect and all that. And actually, no, there's a saying that the fires of hell are hotter for popes. They can lie. They can be dirty, rotten as humans. They can be the worst. But that does not negate the office. Like, for example, you got people like Alexander VI. He's probably the most notorious example of a great public sinner. I mean, he was just a jerk. But yeah, I mean, Francis can lie. I mean, I think Francis has said some really stupid stuff, especially when he sits around and tries to blab about global warming and stuff. It's like, okay, that's cute, Jorge, which is, his human name, not his Pope name. It's like, yeah, you can think what you want about science or global warming, but that ain't your job. You're the Pope. So shut up and talk about Jesus.
Well, as I said, religion's complicated, and I think all the religions, all the good ones in the world, they're all complicated. They all have their beliefs. So,
of course they're complicated, dude. I am looking right now. I could take a picture of it. I have got literally wall to wall of bookshelves about everything, like from the Bible to every single catechism, every single just about every single published writing of every single pope, from Peter to Francis,
Sounds
all along my wall. Sorry?
Sounds like you're trying to keep something out.
No. What I'm saying is I'm a scholar. I'm a scholar.
Okay.
I sometimes call myself a theologist because I haven't earned the right to be a theologian, but I have written and I've given speeches and all that stuff, defending the faith. But yeah, I mean, I've got them all here, and I've got all the writings of the doctors of the church and all that, because that's what I do for fun.
I was referring to that film, The Omen. Remember that scene where they
go into got you.
And he had all the things stuck in the wall, and he's like, "Oh, I think he's trying to keep something out." That scene, that was quite fun. But yeah, so.
Okay, there's a really good there's some really good comments here. First of all, I want to say with Rascally Rabbit. Wow, you guys really talk about everything here.
We do.
Yeah, well, the channel is called Miss Martin Muses, so yeah, I guess I do. And then Luffy, and I believe, Luffy, that this is completely the Lord's truth. King George was overhyped. He's a saint. He killed a dragon, and he has the English flag named after him. Yes. He is overrated. And lightning has not struck me, so I guess I'm good. Yeah. Yeah.
I saw you yesterday, Finn. You were on the what channel were you on yesterday? Finn?
Oh, we were doing the D3PO's Patron Parliament or whatever.
Yeah. So I flicked over and I saw you guys. Talking.
Okay.
Yeah. I couldn't stay long because it was just so late, so I had to go to bed. But yeah, I was quite enjoying the talk.
They had a lot to say about Star Wars. I don't know anything about it beyond the movies and the Ewoks. And I did play the computer game, the Knights of the Old Republic, the new one.
Yeah.
But I don't consider that really teaching any real Star Wars.
Yeah. But as I said, real Star Wars is not Disney Star Wars. So
yeah.
that's where I start.
They technically released Star Wars The Old Republic before Disney purchased it, didn't they?
I don't know. I don't play computer games. So
the computer. Oh, yeah. Are you talking about KOTOR? Knights of the Old Republic?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That was definitely before. And Xevious, you know all about that, right?
Well, my friends built that game.
Wow. You got friends in loads of places, haven't you, Devious?
I do. In fact, this piece I'm working on now. There's a guy named Mike Sass. He painted the cover for Knights of the Old Republic. Like,
cool.
You pick up.
Sweet.
It's got oh gosh, what's the girl on that? What's her name again? But yeah, he created Darth Malik. I've got a signed print.
Oh, Darth Malik, yeah.
Yeah. So when I do stuff here, like on the book I'm working on, I'll fire it over to him. Like, we're friends on Facebook, and I've known him for over 20 years, but we email back and forth. So I consulted on all the Star Wars work that he's done in the last 20 years. So when I'm happy with the colors I'm doing here now, I'll fire it over to him and say, "Hey, bro, what do you think?" And he'll say, "I don't make this more blue, make this more yellow, whatever." So, but the guys who started the company called BioWare, I used to play hockey with them way back in the day.
Oh my gosh,
that is so Canadian.
Yeah, I know.
I was thinking hockey, and you're thinking, "Oh my gosh, he played hockey with us."
Yeah. So I know all those guys for sure. And then
that's so cool.
In a weird coincidence, the Hollywood thing is from when I went to LA and I hooked up with some people, and then I stayed in touch with some of them. And then, as everybody knows, I like dating women from Texas, and then a bunch of them went to Los Angeles. So I'm kind of connected with that scene in different ways. It's that's mostly ex-girlfriends, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you have a talent of staying on good terms with your ex-girlfriends too.
I do. All my best friends are my exes.
Yeah.
So.
Jeez, how do you rate?
I'm a nice guy, mostly.
It's just his wives.
Yeah, but he doesn't like Bohemian Rhapsody, so how could he be a nice guy?
Oh, yeah. No, he called it rubbish. Were you there, Finn, when he called it rubbish?
I was. I think I repressed it.
Okay.
Rubbish. But music is so subjective, and I find that I come at it from the indie side of things, and I grew up playing in punk rock bands. So when something is too slick, too processed, too, just Queen just doesn't do it for me. But hey, I mean, I love a lot of mainstream stuff. I mean, I think in my top 5 would be Prince for sure.
Oh, Prince.
I was lucky enough to go get a private tour of his what's it called again? The Paisley Park just last year. And spend 2 or 3 hours. I got to play on his ping pong table with his ping pong racket. Crazy stuff. So I don't mind mainstream.
Didn't he not hate? He hated Michael Jackson though, didn't he?
I don't know. Again, I'm kind of on the fence about Michael Jackson. That's kind of whatever.
Yeah.
But that's weird and it's sad.
Yeah.
I'd still say Purple Rain is probably the greatest album ever. Like from beginning to end, that was a friggin' amazing.
There you go. That's why we get along. I agree, Tony. There's not one bad track on that record, not at all. And Prince produced and performed almost everything on that.
Purple Rain.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, it's okay.
I don't think I've heard hardly any Prince music. I don't think I could actually name it off the top of my head, but I probably would recognize it.
That don't
check it out.
I could probably recognize it, but I don't know the name.
Huh.
Purple Rain, Purple Rain. How about that?
No, it doesn't ring a bell.
Oh, God.
Doesn't ring a bell.
Maybe if you keep singing, I'll recognize it.
How can you just leave me standing alone in a world that's so cold?
Yeah, she doesn't know that one either.
Beautiful. Thank you.
I'm just going to disown you. I'm going to kick you from the channel.
No, you have to be a good.
She's kicked.
She's gone.
That's awesome.
Okay, I'm bringing it. Okay, I couldn't resist, Finn.
It's okay. You could be a good senpai, and you have to teach me all the different songs that I should listen to.
So,
Okay,
Finn, let me ask you, what's your favorite band then? Or not to put you on the spot, but name a couple that you like.
Oh, I don't do bands. I listen to I like particular songs, and if they happen to be by bands and there happen to be more than one song for the band, that's cool. But I never really say I have a favorite band.
Okay,
but I do have a favorite artist.
Who's that?
Weird Al.
Weird Al.
Yeah. Yeah,
awesome.
He's technically, it's really bizarre, but he's literally been my first for almost everything, which is really weird when I think about it. But he was the first music video I ever saw. It was on MTV, and it was Eat It.
Yeah.
And then he was the first CD I ever owned. My dad bought me Alapalooza.
Yep.
And then he was the first live concert I ever got to see, because he performed free at the local fair, the county fair. So I went to see that. And so, he's been my guy, and also almost every single song was the first time I heard a real song. You know what I mean? So I heard The White and Nerdy, but then I heard a real version of it after the fact. So almost every song I hear on the radio, I'm like, this sounds familiar. I'm like, oh, right. Weird Al sang this first.
But he's very intelligent, he's a lot
and
of
he's
people.
Amazingly talented. Amazingly talented. I mean, because when he sings, when he's sitting there singing along and jamming with his accordion. I mean, he is amazing on the accordion.
Did anybody see his movie though? Anybody see his movie?
I've met him. He's a nice guy.
No.
You've not seen the movie?
You met him?
He made a movie. Yeah. It was quite funny. I thought it was quite funny.
Well, that's cool though. I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, you'll have to. It's very funny.
What's he like in person, CBS?
Just a really nice guy. He's every year or so he comes. I'm in the 501st Legion, the Stormtrooper costume group. So whenever he comes to town, he performs with the 501st Legion. So volunteers, we can get up on stage and dance with what's the tune called again? He does the
saga begins.
long time ago. That thing.
Yeah, in
Oh,
out
no.
and far away.
Yeah, in fact, my YouTube channel has footage.
Yeah.
Like I got footage from the YouTube. He was just here, like I don't know, 6 months ago, and I've got some footage on my YouTube.
Nice.
So it's fun.
I'll have to go check it out.
Yeah, it's goofy. You've seen the video, I'm sure. That's probably 20 years ago now.
Yeah, and he's done and he did Lola or Yoda, you know, for the tune is Lola.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh,
Y-O-D-A Yoda. Well, I've been around, but I ain't never seen a guy who looks like a Muppet, but he's wrinkled and green. Oh my!
But he didn't do the cantina, the cantina bar.
yeah, Star Wars
you know that
Cantina.
one? Yeah, he didn't do that one.
No, that wasn't him.
Yeah, I thought it was quite funny, that one, but I thought it was him, but it wasn't him. He didn't do it.
He only did Yoda and the saga begins.
Okay.
He's got a very particular style.
Yeah,
He's got a great range too. Like he's a bona fide, very talented musician. You know, I mean, you think about the stuff he did, especially like, I mean, he's doing Madonna, he's doing Michael Jackson. I mean, I haven't heard what he's done recently, actually.
I don't know if he's really done a lot of new stuff.
No, he hasn't.
Yeah,
I do like his Eat It though.
yeah.
Like a surgeon.
Hey! Gotten for the very first time.
Yeah. And then he did even that dance that like Madonna was doing on the gondola, and he was doing it like on a gurney.
But you know, there was this
Crawling around on it.
There was this interview with Prince, and they were talking about. The question was, you know, do you like Michael Jackson? And he said, "Yeah, I think he's all right." And then they said, "But you refused to be in Bad, the single Bad, because they did the video, and he was meant to be playing Wesley Snipes' part." And he said, "Do you know what the first line to Bad is?" And he said, "Your ass is mine." And he goes, immediately when he heard that, he didn't want to be a part of it at all. So there you go. So there you go. That's the reason why he didn't want to be part of it. So
you know, I'm fat.
yeah.
Ding dong. Yo, ding dong.
So there you go.
He's a great guy. He's been going and going and going. It's pretty amazing how he's pretty much been a thing since the 70s.
Yeah.
Does it go back that far?
Another one rides the bus.
Yeah. Yeah, he was doing radio guest star stuff back in like 79 or something like that. And you can find it on YouTube. He has the one where he's like Teresa was saying, how like he was playing his accordion, but he had like drums and like all these other things, and he was like performing like his own songs with it. It was crazy.
My
Listen,
Bologna.
Yeah.
Those were his early ones, yeah.
I've got to go because I need to sleep.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, we've been going for
Yeah.
several hours. Gosh, what time? Let me see. Let's see. What time is it over there across the pond? Oh my gosh, dude, it's nearly 2 a.m.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Before I go, I'd just like to say it's been great. And if you get the chance, tune in on Friday, because I'm going to be doing that live stream to honor my friend Julian on The Killing Zone. And if you get the chance, watch The Killing Zone and let me know what you think.
Sure.
I mean, I know a lot of people are not going to watch it because it's a chore to watch something of 93 minutes, especially on YouTube. But you know, if you can, just let me know what you think. It's not a great film, but we did our best. So there you go. And it was my first movie. So, but if you can tune in on Friday, tune in. You know, it'd be quite cool. And yeah. So there you go. There's me selling my wares.
No, that's great. Yeah, I'll be happy to see that. And some of the other creative people are going to be on it as well, correct, Ian?
Yes, some of the people that are in the film is going to be on. Because it's too long, we split it up into 3. So there's 3 stories in The Killing Zone. So we're doing the first story, which is the interrogation first, and then next week we're going to do another story, and then the week after we're going to do the last story. And people that were in the film are going to be in the live chat and stuff. So.
Lovely.
Just to remind us what actually happened on the day. But there you go. But as I said, you know, if you can, if you can't, don't worry about it. If you can, it'd be great to
Well, I'll stay tuned on your Twitter. Everyone
Yeah.
follow Ian over there. And I'm going to go ahead and I am going to sign off. It was fantastic. Everybody, thank you for coming in and musing with us on all the musings of the day. It was supposed to be a midday stream, but man, we've gone past midday.
Yeah, but Devis, I just like to say your art's fantastic, man. I'm watching what you're doing just now, and you're an artist to be reckoned with. Put it that way. So, man, carry on, mate.
I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
That's nice of you. This is what I do. I mean, this has been my job full time for 20 odd years. So you hope I'd be good at it by now.
Yeah. I mean, I've been watching you change that jacket color, and you know exactly what you're doing, pal. So God bless you.
I'm tweaking lights right now. Basically.
Yeah.
So yeah.
All right,
Cool.
guys. I'm
Thank
going.
you.
Take it easy. It's nice meeting you all. And good night and ta-ta. Bye-bye.
Okay, cheers.
Good night. Bye.
Good night. Bye. Thank you, Ian. And thank you, everybody. Thank you, Luffy is God. Thank you, Rascally Rabbit. So many people, too many to name that popped in. Thank you to my panelists, Zevius and AFK Bard. Have a great evening, everyone. Have a great evening, and be certain
To follow Zevius on Twitter and YouTube now.
of course, be certain to follow Zevius on YouTube. And I was also going to say, be certain to. Never mind. He's still. Be certain to follow Zevius on, and it's at Zevius, Xeviuss, and of course AFK Bard. Have a great evening, everyone. Bye.